So say you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Well, hello. How is everybody?
Hello.
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 I'm a goblin this time.
I'm grumpy.
I'm a bent.
Well, don't be too grumpy, because we gotta be grumpy at Kent.
I'm gonna take all my grumpiness out on Kent.
Already there.
Alright, so, I want everyone to introduce themselves, but real quick, I am going to run and close my other computer, which is making stupid noises like Godzilla roars.
Those are smart noises. I'm Bent Hovind. Kent is my uncle, no relation. I'm looking forward to getting really confused by things he says. I'm already starting to get confused, so he's well on his way.
Oh, we only just started. I'm not drunk enough for this. That's what the answer is going to be.
So I don't even know which video this is that we're watching. I see a picture of the Grand Canyon, I think, and
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Kent is like lying about it right now.
Speaking
It
of,
looks like that's his lie face, which looks like
that's just every face.
It's just his regular face.
And I am a goblin, and there is actually a reason that I'm a goblin today, rather than being a dinosaur skeleton or something. But I want Chesh to talk about that.
Ooh, I made a promise, and Dapper has been kind enough to assist me with that promise that we would have some D&D stuff, some Dungeons and Dragons stuff showing up on the GDC sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be last month, but we ended up postponing it just because there was so much going down with dealing with trolls in one aspect and dealing with some debates and personal stuff from a couple people's corner in another aspect. But now a lot of that has been cleared up. So this Sunday at 2 p.m. EST, I do believe we are going to be having a super special Dungeons and Dragons episode on the GDC.
Yep, and there is going to be the unveiling of a new project that is currently still a bit of a secret. But the title of the stream is Goblin, a D&D stream or something like that. If any of my mods can link the stream that's currently being shown on the GDC, that should help.
this is so secretive that I know absolutely nothing about it.
Have I not told you anything about it?
Oh, I think I saw it in a CBAD chat or something, but
I think either CBAD chat or maybe the my patron Discord. No, I told the patron Discord that it's happening, but not exactly what it is. But anyway, that is why I'm a goblin, because the title of this next stream is that we're doing is about goblins, and I'm knocking over my table. Gotta put my axe down. There we go. Sorry about that. I know I'm the worst goblin there is. Sorry.
You're
but anyway,
better at being a dinosaur. But
I mean, no argument there. I have a lot more practice being a dinosaur than a goblin. Now, Chesh could be a goblin.
Hundreds of millions of years of practice.
Right. Well, like 1.5 million years. But anyway, yeah. So tune in for that. But for now, we are going to be looking at this Kent Hovind video. This is a Kent Hovind video I just found today. And this is in that small little window of time when he was out of prison, hadn't divorced his wife, and was still living in his old home before his son kicked him out.
Which wife?
The first one, Joe.
And which son?
Eric.
Eric kicked Kent out of his house?
When he got out of prison, he made Kent pay rent to stay in his old house, and then eventually evicted him.
I now have more respect for Eric Hovind, thank you.
Which, to be fair, doesn't mean a whole lot, because I'm guessing you had, 0 respect for Eric Hovind?
Well, I mean, not a whole ton. I mean, seemed like he was trying, at least. And like it did a whole lot of he's not quite as good as his dad, and I kind of feel a little bit bad for Eric because like Kent tells stories about him essentially abusing him, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I mean,
like,
yeah.
Well, Eric's only half con man. It's genetic.
I'm just happy that it seems like Eric Hovind between point A and point B actually drew a pair.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to arrange a few things because OBS is not cooperating with me the way I would like, and I'm probably going to try and do some other broadcasting software at some point. Also, announcement is this week I'm going to be working on designing some merch because I had requests for mugs, t-shirts, and oven mitts, and I'm not sure if I can actually get the oven mitts made easily. I'm not sure where to go for that.
I know a place where you could get like pillows.
Yeah, I can do pillows, but I had several people specifically request oven mitts for face protection for when they face palm. They wanted branded oven mitts. So I don't know. I'm looking into it. If I can find it, I'm going to do it, but so far it's a bit iffy. But we're going to
Should we do a sexy dino body pillow?
Ooh, yes. For all of you who ever
I
wanted...
can help you with that.
Oh, well... Yeah, am I gonna have to wear my lingerie? My dinosaur lingerie?
Absolutely.
It'll cover nothing except the cloaca. Alright, let's get started with this Kent stuff. Let's see what he's talking about. I already cut out...
Do we know what the topic is that he's supposed to be talking about?
Nope. This is a presentation...
He's going in blind.
This is a presentation he gave at what looks like a church for Russians in the United States. I say that because you can see the projector in a few scenes earlier, and there was Cyrillic, and he said something in Russian. And I also cut out almost half of this video already because it was completely off topic.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so here we go.
One of the lies you kids are going to face in school is about the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, the Grand Canyon's
fake.
Grand
Canyon. But the textbook will always say,
Hey,
over millions of
about
years, the Colorado
Great
River
Grand
carved
Canyon
out the
scheme.
Grand Canyon from solid rock. Whoa. Hold on just a minute.
Whoa!
It's a fact Grand Canyon exists. Grand
Yep.
Canyon is a huge... I got to take this one out of there. We go. Grand Canyon is a huge washed-out dam. It's not over millions of years. It probably happened in a week or...
Whoa, hello. Okay. So, here's the thing. When dams wash out, they don't carve, meandering little channels like the Grand Canyon. They make nice, straight channels because rushing water likes to just go over barriers and then wear them away, rather than following sedately the path of least resistance and creating oxbow lakes and things like that. But the Grand Canyon, Ben, the picture that I'm using over on our right is from your trip with me to the Grand Canyon.
What?
Yeah. When we were there, was it a straight line or was it bendy?
It was just humongous.
Right, but was it bendy?
That's the best way. It was expansive.
Yeah, but the path of the river at the bottom, did it go in a straight line?
No, I couldn't even see the river. Actually, I could in parts, but no,
Yeah.
It was not a straight line river.
So not the kind of thing a flood break, or a dam break would cause.
No, of course not.
No.
Come on, man. No.
Well, like a dam break would be a big rush, right? A big rush of water, which would because of the force behind it, the pressure behind it, it wouldn't be curving around anything. It would just through everything.
Right. A few places it might spread out as it encountered resistance, but then it would wash away that resistance and keep going straight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is absolutely...
And, like, some of the resistance might actually remain, right? Like, it might still, you might still see, like, some...
There might be some subtle curves, but the Grand Canyon...
But it wouldn't be curving this way. It would be curving up and down.
The Grand Canyon will sometimes almost curve back in on itself.
Yeah, that's not going to happen from a big rush of water rapidly.
And how big would the dam have to be?
Well, to be fair, he does point to a very, very large area of the country that would have been, well, the USA, that would have been underwater in these two big lakes that he's supposing. So it would have been big enough to carve out that much rock, I'll give him that. It just wouldn't look the way it looks now.
All right.
Okay, so already we're like a few seconds in, and yeah, nonsense.
2. Spillways fail and the dam washes out. Happens to lakes all the time, all over the world. There's a fact, Grand Canyon exists. There's 2 different ways to interpret it. One person says it formed slowly by millions
Evil
of years.
Scotsman,
A little bit of
have
water,
a wrench.
millions of years. The creationist says no, it formed quickly by lots of water and a little bit of time. And the evolutionists are always trying to erase that line.
I have a
and
question.
Their theory as
What
part of the
does
fact,
the
and it's
slow
not part
formation of the
fact.
Grand Canyon have to do
This
with
guy says
evolution?
Colorado River has cut through layer upon
Oh,
layer of
why
rock
can't I
over
pause it?
millions of years.
I
You
know,
have to
we're
click the
stuck.
pause button.
There we go. Sorry, I moved my mouse away, and it's really hard to use my mouse and be in VR. But anyway,
Yeah.
so the thing about Kent is that he's basically just opposed to the scientific consensus anywhere where it in any way even slightly contradicts his literal reading of Genesis, which is to say in most ways.
Yeah, his annoyance is coming with the amount of time it would have taken to cause the Grand Canyon otherwise. So he needs the Grand Canyon to be formed quickly. So that's what he's relating it to. That's why he's relating it to evolution. It's not actually related. He's just equating it because he's trying to make his argument better.
His complete misunderstanding again of what evolution is.
Well, yeah, that on top of it, he's just
and what
assuming
evolutionists are.
He's also just making the assumption, probably the most correct assumption that he's probably ever going to make in his life, and it's that high school kids are not going to be paying attention in geology class.
Yeah. And also Bernbert, who, by the way, is my newest, either newest or second newest, I think it's newest, patron. So thank you very much, Bernbert, and you got your wrench. So do you think that Kent's mind just goes into autopilot when he goes through his speeches? Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so... Yeah. Look, I've done things that involved me giving essentially memorized, not quite speeches, but just explanations of things that I had to have memorized. And Ben, you had to do that too. We did it when we were in the Navy.
The what?
The Navy. Yeah, I know, the Navy. Because in case anyone doesn't know, I met Bent Hovind here in the Navy. So I can tell you for certain that when you're giving a speech this well practiced, yeah, you just go on autopilot, you know which slide is next or which topic is next, and you go for it.
The best part is you memorize what you have to say, even when you don't understand it. Just like
that's
Kent.
true. Yeah, exactly like Kent. And doesn't he believe that Grand Canyon was laid down in the flood? I believe that he believes the Grand Canyon came just after the flood. So the flood left a big old lake with a dam somehow. I don't know how he imagined that.
What was holding all that water back?
Rock? Ice? I don't really know. Magic?
And then why would it have... it's the thing is, what he's positing is causing more questions. So you've got this really big body of water that's building up pressure, and then it breaks. Okay, well, what was breaking? What was holding it there?
I mean, I suppose it was either an earthen dam or an ice dam, depending on whether or not he thinks there was an ice age and this was part of it.
I think it was the firmament that broke and let all the waters down.
Is that like a hymen?
It's just a word that he says that he thinks he understands, and who knows?
Okay.
Oh no! I finished my beer.
We're
only like 10 minutes in.
Actually, that was a question I was going to ask. What's everyone drinking?
I have iced coffee.
Okay.
But not much left. That's it.
Chesh?
I just had a beer. It's a homebrew beer.
Ooh, interesting. I am drinking some Bacardi with Coke and a splash of lime juice, a dash of bitters, and some ridiculously expensive maraschino cherries that someone got for me as a gift.
What kind of Bacardi?
Gold?
Ooh, that's not bad.
No.
I agree. I do need another beer.
All right. Well,
and, hey, listen. Listen. Just because I'm 17 and drinking a beer.
Yes, can confirm. Chesh is definitely 17.
The rules are different in Canada. Don't at me.
Ben, did you hear about this?
No.
Someone on Twitter, for some reason, decided that Chesh was 17 and was being exploited by everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And they just know how old she is?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, apparently, Chesh is also the same person as Steve McRae,
Well, I knew that.
McRae, so Steve McRae is a 17-year-old girl who's exploiting
herself. And if you look closely at them, they look exactly the same.
Yeah. So that's always fun.
Like all the way.
They definitely.
Their eyes are closed.
They both have, longish hair. There's that.
I even have my beer shirt on today.
Wow. This is fancy. You didn't have to dress up for me,
The Molson one.
Nice. All right. Well, Chesh, if you want, you can grab that drink. We're going to keep going for a little bit, but I'm sure you won't miss much.
Oh, all good. I can wait a little bit. I drank that real fast.
Now, hold on a minute. You can't possibly know that. If you built a dam across Grand Canyon, that would take a lot of dirt, by the way. But if you could simply plug up the canyon, a huge lake would back up behind it.
I agree.
Some of the water from
Isn't Lake Mead essentially that huge
through
lake?
The Grand Canyon. If you built a dam across that canyon, a giant lake would back up. There's Grand Canyon right there in Arizona.
Hey, Arizona, that's where I live.
Canyon. Been there, studied it, been down boating in it. I love studying Grand Canyon. There's no question, it is gigantic. But how did it form? This white part, the snow line, kind of tells the story here. Up in the high elevations, between these two red lines, is the snow line, where it's high elevation. If you took a piece of paper and pushed it from the ends and wrinkled it up, you'd have a long ridge. Grand Canyon cuts right across a big ridge called the Kaibab Plateau that is 6,900 to 8,500.
Ken, is it the Kaibab Plateau or is it the Kaibab Uplift?
What is he talking about? Pushing a sheet of paper down the river? I don't understand what he's saying.
No, he's saying if you take a sheet of paper, like you put it on a table and you put your hand on either end and then you move your hands together, it'll buckle up.
Okay.
Hold
he's trying to make an analogy.
The thing is, he's actually making a better analogy than he thinks, and it disproves his point, but...
What? Don't actually read what his slides say. First mistake.
It says, come on! It does say uplift right up there!
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So what is the difference between a plateau and an uplift, then?
So a plateau is any high elevation, relatively flat area, right? And an uplift is an area where the surrounding rock, whether it be sediment or igneous or whatever, has been pushed up to a higher elevation after having previously been at a lower elevation by some geological process. So it could be two continental plates pushing together and causing the land near where they meet to buckle up.
Could an uplift be a plateau?
Yes. But the thing is that specifically an uplift explains why the canyon can cut through this high elevation area. It's because when the canyon formed, it wasn't high elevation. So
an uplift can be a plateau, but a plateau doesn't necessarily need to be an uplift.
Correct. Yes. So many plateaus are actually like erosional features, like like mesas that you can see in places like the Southwest or parts of the Australian outback, where you get this rock with a big flat top and then relatively vertical sides around it. That's a kind of plateau, but those aren't uplifts. Those are erosional features, where the mesa was originally actually a volcanic feature, but the volcano was long since dead, and it's harder to erode that igneous rock than the surrounding sediment. So that's an example of a plateau that isn't an uplift. All right.
Cool.
Feet above sea level. Now the river is 270 miles long, going through that canyon. So 270 miles in a 1 mile ridge, it's hard to really see 1 mile over 270 miles. But the water will find it. Water finds every little high spot and goes around it. Okay? The top of Grand Canyon is 6,900 feet above sea level, or let's call it rounded off to 7,000 feet. The river starts cutting the canyon at less than 3,000 feet. Page, Arizona, where the canyon starts, is 2,800 feet above sea level. The river flows downhill from there. All rivers in Arizona flow downhill.
Wait, is that true? Of course it's true.
I believe they do in Washington State also, if I'm not.
Okay, but here's the problem. He's going to present this as like, oh, how did the river run uphill? It didn't. That hill wasn't there when it started.
The flood.
Well, isn't there another issue if he's going to argue that water can't run uphill, but he's positing like a big wash of water that would have easily had enough pressure to go upwards?
Right, well, there's that too, but it also would have just eroded the whole hill. So even if it were a problem, right, even if it were a problem for the sort of slow formation of the canyon, it would be just as much a problem for him. So I don't know how this helps. Kent.
Not mistaken, okay? So, when it comes out the other end, it's at 1,800 foot above sea level at Lost Wages, Nevada, okay?
Lost Wages.
So it has a 1,000-foot drop as the canyon flows through, as the water flows through that canyon. I was in a debate one time with an atheist. He said, "Hovind, you are so stupid.
Well, you got that right.
Millions of years to form Grand Canyon." I said, "Well, sir,
I immediately never believe him when he says I was in a debate with an atheist."
Well, that's one of the things, is he just assumes that everyone who disagrees with him is an atheist, even if he's explicitly told otherwise.
Every time he tells one of these stories, I assume he's telling a story, and he didn't actually interact with this person.
Like all of his stories about, I was talking to a Berkeley professor on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't believe a single one of these stories at all.
Right.
They're all so like conveniently strawman-y. It's like,
and he says things that these professors would say, and it's like, I don't know of any professor who would say that, who has any expertise in a relevant field. So
and the other thing is that it's like Kent has long since lost the principle of charity on assuming that those stories are accurate.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's
like, if Dapper was to tell me that, oh hey, I was talking to this person and told his story, there's a good chance I would believe him. But if he tells me like 7 or 8 of these stories and they're all kind of weird, I might start getting suspicious.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't plan on doing that because I'm a fairly honest person.
As far as Grand Canyon,
To be
I
honest,
think you need to understand a couple of things, okay? I said, did you know the top of Grand Canyon is higher than the bottom?
Whoa.
How many knew that already? Okay. He said, yes, I know that. I said, sir, did you know the river only runs through the bottom? He said, yes, I knew that. I said, sir, did you know the top is higher than where the river enters the canyon by 4,000 feet? He got a strange look on his face, like maybe he was thinking.
So even if this story is true, I'm going to guess that this wasn't a professor of geology. Does that seem like a fair assumption?
Of course.
Okay.
I said, sir, rivers don't flow uphill. There is no delta. Where's all the mud that washed out of Grand Canyon?
There is a delta. The fact that it's not quite as obvious as it used to be because the actual amount of water coming out of the... Actually, so here's the thing. The Colorado River hasn't reached the ocean since 2014. All of that water is siphoned off or evaporates.
I am now a fancy goblin.
Oh, you are actually a fairly dapper goblin.
Wow.
I'm the dapper goblin for the Dapper Dino channel.
That is very much pretty. In fact, you're much more dapper than I am. All I have is this axe.
Hold on, I'm being handed things. Hold on. There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Quite dapper.
Wow. I am impressed.
So now today I am the dapper and you are the goblin.
Yeah, we've traded places. There needs to be a TV show about that.
Trading places?
Yes, exactly. That is awesome. So, now I just thought, oh, right. So there is a delta, but the thing is, it's not very obvious because the river doesn't reach the ocean anymore. And even when it last did in 2014, it was unusual. So, sorry? I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like there is a delta. You can look in the Gulf of Mexico and see sediment deposited by the Colorado River. It's right there. He's just lying. Or he's an idiot. Or both.
Both. I think it's got to be both. Because you know he's lying and you know he's an idiot.
Wait, hold on. I just got put in Twitter jail.
Again?
Yeah.
All right, round of applause. Round of applause.
Yay! Yay!
I can't really make the sound because it's just loud and clacky, but yay! Congrats. What did you do this time?
It looks like I got mass plagued by a bunch of trolls again.
Aww.
I actually didn't do anything this time. Okay, last time I'm willing to say that, okay, yeah, it was a really impressive tweet. Okay, fine. But this time I didn't. I just told somebody I was blocking them.
Oh, we actually have applause from Evil Scotsman and No Name. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. All right. Well, wait, how are you going to hype tomorrow's stream if you're in Twitter jail?
I want to know why. I want to know if Twitter is okay with them. I'm getting put in Twitter jail because I utilized the options that they gave me and said I was using their options. And they're saying it's hateful content.
Well, I mean, if there's anyone who's hateful, it's the Trash Goblin, right?
I mean, listen, that's fine, but I didn't do anything hateful, so.
Well, good luck. Yeah, how long is the ban?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm fighting this one, so.
All right.
That river did not make that canyon. Grand Canyon is a washed-out spillway. We got a demo with our dinosaur.
So it's actually a little bit more complicated than that river doing it, because there have been rivers in that canyon other than the current river, some of which actually flew the other way, or flowed the other way. Flowed the other way. And yeah, actually, Nestling20 points out that the delta is now largely below sea level since the sea level has risen since the delta formed. That is very correct. Most of the Grand Canyon river, well, the Colorado River Delta is below sea level in the Gulf of Mexico.
Adventureland is closed now, but we have kids pile up the sand.
Dinosaur Adventureland is closed. Not anymore. Now there's a new one.
Over the top of the dam and washes out the canyon quickly. If you plugged up Grand Canyon, 2 huge lakes would form behind it. Hopi Lake and Grand Lake. Now the lakes are gone, but the beach line is still there. You can still tell where there used to be a lake.
I'm not actually sure if that's true.
Hopi Lake is now a desert. So is Grand Lake. They're gone.
Deserts are the best.
Too full. Anytime a lake gets too full, it'll go over the top of the dam, and it washes out the dam.
So wait, that looks a lot like his earlier elevation map. Is he trying to claim that the Kaibab Plateau was actually the limit of the lake, and that it burst through? But that would still mean that the canyon wouldn't start before the uplift. It would just cut through the uplift and then go from there.
That's really interesting, actually, the way this works on Twitter.
Okay.
So I appealed them, but I still can't do anything. But if I get put in jail, I'll be in jail for probably 12 hours, which means I might be waiting for because I can't do anything while I'm waiting for the appeal. I can't even look at it.
Yeah, it could take more than that time for the appeal to go through.
Yeah, so that makes Twitter, fix your shit.
Twitter is...
My God, this makes no sense. But
okay,
whatever.
I'm on Twitter.
I don't know.
I'm literally only on Twitter because it can kind of sometimes help me communicate with people who want to know about YouTube stuff. But I absolutely detest almost everything about Twitter. Twitter is the worst.
Being in Twitter jail is mostly just you get to take a break and not have to interact on Twitter anymore, which is kind of nice.
Maybe I should go get myself put in Twitter jail.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what's going on Twitter, go take a look in. We'll watch our show on Steve's channel on Monday. We're going to be going over all of this. Essentially, there's a buttload of people making duplicate accounts. Yeah, making duplicate accounts and trying to harass people, and they've been after me and Steve for weeks at this point. And
well, wait, doesn't that mean they're harassing a 17-year-old girl?
Yes. By their logic, yes.
Yeah. Way to be bullying a minor on the internet, guys.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm the one getting put in jail. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whatever.
It doesn't wash away the whole thing. It just finds one spot and carves a groove in it and drains the water out.
By the way, let's get happy birthdays for Cheshire's 17th birthday.
Through the rock and sand and gravel, it becomes liquid sandpaper. It's not just water now, it's liquid sandpaper. It will erode quickly.
I mean, that's true.
Grand Canyon probably formed in a matter of days.
Oh, look, he has a breached spillway, and look how nice and straight it is.
Beautiful.
Look, I can't see all the curves in there.
It doesn't look at all like the Grand Canyon. What do you know?
Weird.
This is so strange.
farmers build dams to hold water for their cows all the time, and if the water gets a way to go through it, it'll carve out a groove and make a gash in it just in a matter of minutes sometimes.
I mean, I agree with
Once
you.
a dam fails, the water will come pouring out of there and carve a groove. Grand Canyon is a giant washed out
I like how
spillway.
all of his pictures have nice straight lines.
This lake carved a hole through the dam and washed all the water washed out. It doesn't wash away the whole dam, and it didn't wash away the whole Kaibab Plateau.
Oh, hey, that one
In
has a few
2004,
curves. That's not too bad, but they're very gentle. Like, the water is obviously violent, but these curves don't... Yeah, they're like, oh, smooth... Whereas the Grand Canyon, like, it's all curving back in on itself and over and around, and it's got tributaries coming in. How did the tributaries form, Kent?
It's all the flood.
The Grand Canyon has goddamn tributaries. You don't get tributaries out of a dam break.
It's all the flood.
Every tributary was its own separate dam. There were just hundreds of dam breaks all across the line.
Or 5, the Tom Sauk Reservoir near St. Louis failed. It got too deep, full of water, found a low place on the brim, on the dam they built, and lost 1.5 billion gallons of water in 10 minutes.
Just, he says
That
that,
water went roaring down.
and it might be true, but I just automatically don't believe him. Like, there's some detail about that he's completely wrong about. I feel it. It's
So you're probably right, but it's also one of those things where like it matters so little that I feel like why call him on it?
Well, Kent has a habit of saying things that are kind of true in some ways, but also incredibly wrong, but it would take too long to go through, and the back information that you need to know how incorrect it is and why, that it's too much. It is basically the crux of the Gish Gallop.
Basically,
and it's going to be one minor little thing that completely changes the reasoning and proves his conclusion wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Kent. Why do I even watch your stuff? Oh, right. Because it gives me an excuse to get drunk with friends.
Side of the mountain and carved out a miniature Grand Canyon in 10 minutes.
Did it, though?
Because you got a whole lot of water with a bunch of sand and rocks and gravel in it, and it became liquid sandpaper.
I like how it shows no aerial shots of this supposed mini Grand Canyon.
All over the world, rivers
What is a mini Grand Canyon? Because Grand is big and mini is small, so wouldn't it just be like a canyon?
Yes, it would just be a canyon. Yeah. I guess it'd be like Black Canyon over in like mid-east, or the like very western border of Arizona, near where it kind of goes towards Vegas. Get a Black Canyon there, and it's much smaller than the Grand Canyon, so it's just a canyon.
Right.
All the time. Little streams come together and make a bigger river. Almost always, when the rivers join, they join at what's called acute angles, less than 90 degrees.
Okay.
At Grand Canyon, the rivers join on the south side of the canyon at what are called acute angles. Normal river pattern. However,
wait, he actually is going to acknowledge the existence of the tributaries that completely disprove his idea? I want to see where he goes with this. I mean, look, he circled tributaries.
We'll see. We'll see what he says.
Okay.
On the north side of that ridge, the rivers are flowing backwards. Why would the river flow north,
Yep, as we've already talked about, the river sometimes was flowing backwards through geological history as to where it's flowing now. That's why it's not entirely correct to say that the Colorado River that currently exists formed the whole canyon. This isn't like news. It was already well established.
the canyon, turn around and come south again? They're called barbed canyons. And they're kind of puzzling to the evolutionists, like, wow, how did that do that? Why did these flow backwards and then hit the main channel and come out? Because it was a lake draining, and the water's flowing down off the backside of the dam, hit the main channel to turn around and come back out.
What?
You only get barbed canyons in a situation like that where a giant lake
Okay, does that make any sense to anyone else?
No. Come on. I was confused before we even clicked play. Of course not.
Oh man, this is. And you are the worst. And you know what? I kind of love you for it because it gives me an excuse to do this.
Is draining. They're all over on the north side of Grand Canyon. Kids, you're going to be lied to. They're going to tell you Colorado River carved the Grand Canyon over millions of years, and that is simply a lie.
Oh, that's lie number one?
True.
Like, of all
They're
the
going to tell
lies?
you the layers of rock are different ages. That is not true. They're lying. They're not different ages. Now, is there anybody in the crowd that knows what this machine is? You know what that is?
Is it a calf puller?
That's a calf puller.
Oh, yay!
A calf puller. Yep. Once in a while, the cow has a hard time having the baby calf, and so the farmer gets the calf puller out there, ties the cables around the calf's leg, and jacks the calf out of the cow.
Specialized
a few tons
tools.
of pressure on there, calf will come right out. No.
Yeah, for ripping baby cows out of cow vaginas. Hooray! I mean, I guess you got to do it. What do you want, dead calf?
Or dead cow mom.
Yeah, neither of those are good news because those are valuable.
Just imagine doing that with human babies.
I think we should. Chesh, let's invent the baby puller.
I don't think it would work. You'd have to find another. The problem is with human babies is that when they come out, they're not done yet.
Yeah, that's true. Calves are way more mature than human babies. All right, so maybe the baby puller is not the greatest of ideas. Are we going to stick with like cesarean sections and whatnot?
I mean, maybe if we could get like a cookie cutter that works like a vacuum, just kind of opens things up a little bit and just.
I think that happened in Mystics of Bali, but I also feel like that might get me demonetized if I go into that too much. But maybe we should watch Mystics of Bali on the Seabed show, where we can see someone suck a baby out.
Yes, I know forceps are a thing.
No, this baby was sucked out orally.
Yum.
Yeah. Oh, and devoured, but you know.
A plunger.
No problem.
Well,
Kind of hard on the
if
cow,
we're going to
but-
watch it, don't
oh,
spoil
well,
it.
you know.
Okay, fair enough.
One day, this farmer was out pulling a calf. It's what's called a breech birth. The back feet are coming out first. Not good. See, if you drink coffee, your babies are born naked, illiterate, and upside down,
Whoa.
which is good. That's the way you want them, okay? But once in a while, they're born feet first, and that's not good, okay? So this calf was being born, back feet coming out first. So the farmer had a calf puller out there, and he's trying to pull the calf out of the cow.
The
And
hell
the
does
city
this
fella
have to do with
stopped
the
his
Grand
car to
Canyon?
see what on earth is going on.
Everything, Chesh. If you don't understand
The farmer
how
said, "Have you ever
calf
seen anything like this
birthing
before?"
relates to the Grand Canyon, then I just
The
can't
city
help
fella
you.
said, "I have
It's
never
just
seen
part of
anything
his
like this."
dementia. Like, just let him go
Jack the
on,
calf
talk about it.
out of the
He's
cow.
already been at the
Farmer said,
apricot
"You have any
seas
questions?"
already.
He's already
City
been
fella
wrong
said,
about
"Yes, sir, I got
biology,
one question.
astronomy,
It's
the
been
Grand
bugging me for
Canyon.
10
Now
minutes."
let him be wrong about
The farmer said, "Well, what's your question?"
whatever he's talking about.
He said,
Aw, Dapper
"How
Dinosaur
fast
is the
do you think
best.
that calf
Thanks,
was
Birds Are
going when it
Dinosaurs
ran into
facts.
that cow?"
Okay, I mean, it's not the worst joke.
No. We're not looking at a wreck here, folks. Some people can look at the same thing and come to the wrong conclusion of what they're looking at.
Oh, that whole story was just
Some
to
people
get
can
to
look
some
at Grand
preaching.
Canyon and see millions of years. Some people pick up a fossil.
Oh, bye,
It's
Ken.
not some people,
They'll
Kent.
pick up
It's
a
not like
fossil and say,
some
"Wow,
random
that is
people
so-"
that just pick it up and look at it, you hole.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll
love-
get there. Don't worry about it.
I
Hold on.
hate- Okay.
70 million years old. How do you know that? Did it
Hey, is that an ungule? Hard to tell.
tell you?
It's a telephone.
Did it have a sign on it?
It is an ungule.
It's not. Look, when you find bones in the dirt,
Ungules are what dumb people call claws, because they don't know the difference.
That's the little one on the back, right?
Well, I don't know which one it is, but so unlike primates, most animals, the last phalange on the digits, or phalanx on the digits, if you want to get super technical and Latin-y, it actually, so it, the last one actually is basically the basis for the entire claw, and that bone itself is called an ungule because it is sort of the underlying structure of the claw, which is itself actually a keratin structure. And so when you find fossilized dinosaur claws, they're actually ungulate bones, which is that particular kind of phalange in the feet or the hands.
By phalange, you mean Ferengi?
No. But you know what? As someone who sometimes identifies as a Ferengi, your wearing of clothing and not chewing of my food offends me. So get on that.
Hey, I have a question. Why is Kent preaching to a whole bunch of teenage girls and no one else?
That is a good question. I did not notice that.
Just like Chesh.
Yeah, Chesh, were you in this? Are you actually
There
here?
she is.
Yeah, that's me right there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That must have been like when you were what, 14, just a few years ago.
Yeah, somewhere around then.
Okay. I didn't know that you had come to a Russian church in Washington when you were 14.
I've been around.
Okay.
Travel a lot for my age.
It really does look like it's just teenage girls. That is odd. I don't know that I would trust Kent around teenage girls, but then again, if I'm being fair, I haven't.
Kent around anyone, though?
Well, yeah, but if I'm being fair, I haven't actually heard anything about Kent being any kind of like sexually inappropriate.
Well, I mean, he's just a con man, no matter who he's around.
Well,
He's
yeah,
just a con man who beat his children.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bad things we can say about him, but one of the ones that, as far as I can tell, we can't is that he is a sexual predator. As far as I can tell, he's not.
I don't think we should throw that one around.
Yeah, he's not, as far as I can tell. As far as I know, even the people who have accused him of abuse, like his second wife, haven't accused him of that. So.
They don't have a sign on them. They don't have a date on them. You're putting your interpretation on it. The Bible says in 2 Peter chapter 3, we chose our website to be 2peter3.com.
Can we just talk about how dismissive he is about the amount of work that actually goes into identifying a fossil and when it is from, and that it takes years of study, and you're not just some random person that picks it up off the ground and interprets it just by looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous because, okay, so first setting up just the relative ages of the layers in the geological column was an extensive project that required samples from all across the world and cross-referencing what fossils were found where and, when they were found and all of this stuff. And, like, it was a big project. And then trying to get radiometric dating to bracket the ages of all these things with igneous intrusions and, subdividing every single period into multiple different stages, like the Tithonian stage and then there are stages to various periods that are only available for local areas. Like you can break down, say, the Cretaceous or the Jurassic period into different subsections in North America than in Africa, and different again in South America. And there's all this really, really hard work that was done to get to the stage where you can pretty much say, okay, where am I? What rock layer is this? Now I know when this was formed. It took literal centuries to get to this point.
And how many people worked on that?
Thousands.
Like all the geologists? So
Basically,
you got to
every
remember, Kent
geologist
is a
ever.
guy who, when asked how he would identify if a certain fossil was a dinosaur or not, said, "Gee, that's an interesting question," as if he had never heard it before. "I don't know," which Kent rarely says that. "I would have to do some research on that." He has no idea.
Here's another question.
And then he is being like, "Oh, you just look at it and decide how old it is."
Now, to be fair to him, this is long before I asked him that particular question, which is what Ben's referencing.
Yeah.
So this is probably 2 to 3 years.
They all heard the question. They all heard the question in the intro music.
Yeah. That's true. It is. It is in the intro music. Thank you. Why is my ear being funny?
That's probably just like running away from Kent's voice.
Okay. But I don't want it to. Ear, fix yourself. What is wrong with my ear? I hate that my ear is being stupid. Whatever.
Just face the other direction and don't worry about it.
Well, now I can't see the video. Oh, did it come back? No. Here, you know what? I think I have an idea as to how to fix this. Okay, give me a second. Okay.
Not so good at being a goblin, I see.
Oh, is it fixed?
Takes practice.
Well, yeah, Chesh, you have a lot of practice at
There
being
it
a
is.
goblin,
There you
so,
go.
I mean,
You're good.
try not to be, like, new goblin phobic or something. I mean, you're already in Twitter jail for hate speech or whatever. Try not to hate on other
Whatever.
goblins. I mean, come on. Just don't hate other goblins.
There you go.
Knowing
Okay.
this first, there shall come in the last days scoffers. Did you know
Now
there
I'm
are
checking
people
my
who
ear
scoff
obsessively.
at
That's us.
the Bible and laugh
We're
at
the
it?
scoffers.
How many of you
I mean, I'm certainly scoffing at the very least at Kent's interpretation of the Bible, because it is so laughably bad that even most biblical scholars are just like, nope.
I think Kent is the scoffer. Like, who's the scoffer? Oh, Kent's raising his hand, so...
Yeah, I mean, he's scoffing at centuries of hard scientific effort
Good
by,
point. Yeah.
like, thousands of people
You
working.
both make very good points.
Yeah, and those, I mean, look, if you're
Oh, what's the other part of that? Isn't it false prophets, Kent?
And the thing is, like, all these geologists that did this, how many can you name?
None.
Yeah, so this was pretty much thankless work. Like, no one gives a shit. Really. People, like, even I can't name more than, like, one or two.
And what, of the thousands, what is their agenda?
Oh, obviously it was to disprove the Bible for some reason, because apparently when you're doing hard work scientifically to try and date rocks, which isn't easy, it's all so that you can say the Bible's not true, and then, I guess, I don't know, do drugs and screw prostitutes? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know. Like,
I think they were just all walking after their own lusts.
oh yeah? They're rock
Yeah.
lusts?
Yep.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's right there on the screen, right?
Look
What
at
else
that
could it be?
Aeolian sandstone deposit. Oh.
ever met one before? A scoffer. I attract them like a lightning rod.
I mean, you're not wrong there,
My
Kent.
YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official. It's unreal. I'll put up a new YouTube, and they will thumbs down in the
It
first.
is
2 seconds
Yeah,
before
weird.
they've even
It's
watched any of it.
so bizarre having to deal with
Amazing.
trolls, Kent.
It's hilarious.
Sorry,
We're all making
Jess.
fun of it. Anyway, there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts. See, the reason they scoff at the
Their
Bible
rock
is
lusts.
because of their lust, not because of their science. It's because of their lifestyle. Bible says-
Ooh.
I told you in the last days there should be mockers who should walk after their own ungodly lusts. They don't like the Bible.
I want to know which lust is satisfied by radiometric dating. I really do.
I want to know if this is just essentially a ploy that Kent can use to say that if you make fun of me, it means you hate the Bible and therefore are wrong and are part of this Bible prophecy.
Well, it's not just that. It's you hate the Bible, you're wrong, and you're a pervert.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, that's what he's getting at here. He's like, if you're not with me, then not only are you wrong and going to hell, but you're also gross.
You're also gross.
Yeah. It's like way to
Ugly
poison the
German-
well.
Ugly German truths make a good point. Lifestyles like third marriage, 2 divorces, Kent.
No. Third marriage, 1 divorce. As far as I can tell, he
that's
hasn't
right.
actually technically divorced the second wife.
Yeah, he's got 2 marriages on the go.
Yeah, way to be a bigamist. But he annulled the second marriage himself by declaring that his second wife wasn't really a Christian.
So you just declared, like, I didn't say it, I declared it, like Michael Scott style?
Like Michael
Yeah.
Scott.
I declare annulment!
You can't just say that. It doesn't do anything.
Apple also said, actually, Kent is the target of this passage, especially if he doesn't live according to the Mosaic Law.
Ooh, I mean, there's an argument to be made there.
I have a question.
Oh.
If he makes a video and we watch that video on a Sunday, does it count as him working on a Sunday?
I'm just going to go with yes. Just because I don't like Kent and I want him to be violating more of his own rules.
Because it crafts
Bias!
their style. Goes against the way they want to live. Thomas Huxley.
Yeah,
and
see, it all
Julian
comes down to
Huxley, his
sex.
grandson.
Kent thinks everything
Julian
that everyone
Huxley
does
said,
is about
I
trying
suppose the reason we
I don't
left
know,
at Origin of
have
Species,
weird
you know,
sex.
we liked that theory,
It's all
Was
about
the idea of
kink
God interfered with our sexual mores. We didn't want God telling us what to do. That's the reason they accept evolution.
The thing is, I know people who don't believe in God and also live pretty darn chaste lives that most Christians would find unobjectionable in terms of sex. So that can't be the only reason that that someone might not believe in God. So,
Nah.
Yeah, no, it's just about the sex.
It's just about the sex.
Okay.
It's just about the sex and giving the middle finger to God, I guess.
Yeah.
The God that we don't think exists.
Right. Yeah. Like I really want to know what Kent imagines the internal logic of most atheists is. I hate God because I want to have casual sex or something?
Casual sex with the Grand Canyon. I don't know. With that rock over there, like...
Yeah, that's a really sexy rock over there.
If you guys aren't having sex with fossils, you're doing it wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm a dinosaur, so it's not like I have a lot of other options.
In the office where we do the radiometric dating.
Right, yes. Every atheist on the planet is having sex with fossils in the lab that does the radiometric dating. They all get together.
And if you don't believe me, you're scoffers.
And you're bringing about the end of days.
Yes.
Arthur Keith, a famous evolutionist, said evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable. We don't even want to think about that. The Bible says they did not want to retain God in their knowledge, and God gave them...
So, I like how his citation for that last quote was just a name. Arthur Keith said this somewhere, someday. Who the heck is Arthur Keith? Where did he say it? When? Doesn't matter. You don't need a real citation.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. It's just his friend.
Wait, am I silent now?
I don't think so.
You guys should be able to hear me.
I'm hearing.
I can hear you.
Well, OBS says I'm coming through. Unidentified Leviathan, let me know if you can't hear me for some reason, because you should be able to. Okay. Yeah, okay. Everyone else can hear me.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you on the stream.
And also, Unidentified Leviathan says it's not a real argument. Rebuttal. I'm going to be honest. Kent with Bent isn't so much about rigorous rebuttal as it is about having drinks with friends and laughing.
I don't think that Kent has made an actual argument. He's said a bunch of stuff that's incorrect.
That's talked about the Grand Canyon, and now he's preaching.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And he's preaching badly
to teenage girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Russia, Russian teenage girls. In
Washington.
Not in Russia, in Washington. Yeah.
Which I think is Washington State, because Washington State has a lot of has a pretty good Russian population.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I know from having lived there and actually having gone to a couple Russian churches there.
Them over to a reprobate mind.
Which reminds me, you want to have a good time drinking, go to a Russian church on Easter morning. And by Easter morning, I mean like 2 a.m.
Oh, God.
The vodka will be flowing. Trust me.
Oh.
Yeah, there will be a lot of vodka, and there will be a lot of meat.
I can't go. I'm 17.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, but you're in Canada. The rules are different. Canada,
that's true.
The drinking age is like 12 or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, the cops don't usually raid churches on Easter, so.
Right.
But it has to be Greek
Bible
Easter.
says God will send them strong delusion. Now, in my humble, totally
strong
unbiased opinion,
delusion.
I think you'd have to be strongly deluded to think your great grandpa was a
Bible verse is referring to Kent
Hovind. To be real deluded.
Kent has a strong delusion.
So, is it possible for a person to go
I'm going to skip ahead a little
insane?
bit, see if he actually gets some more claims.
Yeah, happens, right?
Where's my mouse?
Is it possible for a whole group of people to go insane? Like Jim Jones,
never mind, 'cause I can't find my mouse.
Some people went down and drank purple Kool-Aid and died. All killed themselves, same time. The whole group went stark raving nuts. Is it possible for a whole nation to go insane? I mean, the whole nation, 50... I was supposed to be 64, but I was born late. Okay.
I think that depends on what he's talking about when he says insane. Like, what do you mean when you say insane? You mean not agreeing with you? Because that seems to be what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get super into the whole like what does being insane mean, because man, is that a complicated situation there. But
Yep.
yeah.
Okay? And you
I just
got a
mean
job
the way
ahead
Kent
of
is
you,
using
and the
it.
world is
Yeah.
falling apart. Okay, Satan is deceiving the
Kent,
whole world.
are you gonna say?
And it's going to be your job to try to straighten it out and try to stop this. It fell asleep. All things
Stop
continue. Were alike.
Stop it.
What would a worldwide be? And they said, we need to establish a democracy. In 1795, the year before
Talking about
he
geology
died,
again here, so I'm gonna go
in
back.
his book, never mind, I'll explain it later, okay? One of the scoffers in the last days was James Hutton.
That's one of the ones I could name.
We're in the last days.
1795, the year before he died. In his book, he
1796
said
is
the
the
Earth
last
is
days.
much older than ever.
What year is it now? How long are the last days supposed to last? How
Well-
many days, Kent?
Well, I mean, the last days is sort of an amorphous term, right, Chesh? I mean, like, it could be,
It's
a
not.
day. Like, it has to be more than one day. And
It's not.
300 years is more than one day, but it's still a number of days, and they're the last ones. Which I
just
guess
wanna
could
know
mean
how many.
every day is part of the last days.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my ear is doing a thing again.
It's running from Kent. It really is.
What is it? Oh, I see what causes it. Watch this. My ear is weird, right?
Oh.
There it is.
Flip.
Oh, did it get normal?
The other ones, oh, they're both
Okay.
normal now.
Now I know what it is. I know. Oh,
It's not Kent Hovind? I thought it
No,
was Kent.
it's whether or not I'm tabbed away from the program that actually is running the VR guy.
Oh.
The physics sim kind of like stops if I'm tabbed away from it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. So here's the other thing. I have had a significant amount of booze, so I am going to hide myself for a second, and you guys should entertain the chat while I'm gone. And, doing goblin bodily functions.
So dinosaurs, or at least the kind that he is, have much larger bladders than in goblin form. So yeah, that's why
He's got to get. That's an adjustment for him.
shedding.
Did you enjoy our movie that we did that we're doing next?
Oh man, that's the best one yet.
I'm pretty happy with it.
And yeah. There's a few others I'm really looking forward to, but that was one of them. It was really good.
Yeah, I think. When do we know when that one's coming out? Because My Cousin Vinny just came out.
I think it's probably going to be. I think we're trying to do every Wednesday for a release, but this one was on a Thursday, I think. So.
Oh, but yeah, when we watched it, doesn't really matter when it releases, though, right?
Yeah, but well, I don't know. We want to do about one a week. I'd like to do more if possible, but we'll see how it goes. I think Godzilla Part 2 is next.
Nice.
For recording.
Are we allowed to announce what we watched?
Yeah, you can tell everyone.
So we watched Manos: The Hands of Fate. So that'll be coming out next week when you guys are ready on the Seabad show.
Starring Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. A cute doggo.
And a cop who was mean to teenagers.
And I promise you that the hero of that story is not who you think it is.
May he rest in peace.
He's not dead. Don't lie. He's not dead.
No, he's alive forever.
He ran away with a missing hand and his wife.
And he is in a prequel also, so.
Yes.
Which we should cover that.
Yeah, so look out for that next week. That's going to be good. It's not the dog. No, the hero is not the dog, but the doggo is very cute. 10 out of 10 doggo. It's supposed to be like a very vicious dog, but it's adorable.
Right.
I believe it's a what are they called? They're a hound.
And I am back.
Welcome back.
I
I think it's a Doberman. He looks like a Doberman.
Yeah,
That's
it was.
right,
Yeah,
Doberman.
the horrible mean dog that was actually really friendly every single scene. because they just never bothered to actually make it act like it was a mean doggo. It looked mean in the painting, though, huh?
I don't think that dog ever even snarled.
No, it didn't. It like wagged its tail and followed the little girl on a leash nicely. Yep. It was like, this is the least menacing Doberman I've ever seen in my life.
The closest they got to actually getting the dog to do something was when it was clearly looking at a squeaky toy behind the camera.
Well, they could do the squeaky toy, because guess which movie didn't record any on-set audio?
Was it that one? I think it was that one.
Yeah, that one.
So there's a question from Bob Knob.
Okay.
At Dapper Dino, have you ever seen Kent explain striations in the layers of the Earth?
Yeah, I have actually. So he uses this idea of horizontal deposition during high water flow events with large amounts of sediment, which is a real thing. But the thing is that every single layer that's laid down in an event like that is actually a layer of graded bedding. So you get a layer of graded bedding, another layer, and that can happen. And I'm pantomiming with my axe for reasons. But yeah, that's his explanation, which of course doesn't explain why all the layers aren't graded bedding, because they should be, but they're not. So yeah, he's an idiot about that too, in other words.
But he thinks. Because back in 1700s, everybody thought the Earth was 6,000 years old. That's what the dates add up to from the Bible. James Hutton said,
wouldn't it be like 5,800 years old
maybe
back
even
then?
millions of years.
Yeah, I guess it would be, actually, wouldn't it?
Because if it's 6,000, every year means a lot more than if it's like 5 billion or however old the Earth actually is.
Right, yeah. Because if it's... So the Earth is actually like 4.5 billion or so years, and yeah. So 1 year doesn't make it, even a few centuries.
Well, that's why they had to talk about the Grand Canyon, right? Because the Grand Canyon can't have taken so long to make, because as far as they're concerned, the Earth isn't that old.
Yeah.
Right.
And Unidentified Leviathan, I have no idea what Darwin may or may not have said about shooting so many birds. But it's also not really relevant to whether or not evolution is true. Because one of the things is, a lot of creationists go with... Okay, so a lot of creationists are religious in a particular way where they take certain people as just religious authorities. These are the people you get your religion from. And what they say must be true because they're the religious authorities. But that's not how science works. Darwin could have said any crazy crap you can imagine. It doesn't matter for evolution because Darwin isn't the god of evolution. He's not in charge of biology. He is a guy who had an idea which has yet to be falsified after centuries of trying. That's it.
And this was also a time in the late 1700s of many revolutions going on. We had the American Revolution, the French, the Polish, the Spanish, the German. Everybody's rebelling against
their Canada never bothered to rebel.
I mean, come on. And they said, we need to
get your act
establish
together,
democracy.
Canada.
Well, regardless of the political side of all this, the fact is, people were looking for a way.
I mean, I say that like my ancestry isn't heavily Canadian, and none of my ancestry goes back to the American Revolution.
To get our political revolution to work. By the way, when they took over China with the communists, first thing they did was ban the Bibles and start teaching evolution. Every country.
I'm going to point out, Bibles aren't technically banned in China, although it's...
No, they are, because it's the very first thing they did. The very first thing is they banned the Bible and started teaching evolution.
Yeah.
Does Kent know anything about Chinese history?
I doubt it. Other than the communism is bad, which, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with him on that one.
Like, okay, but what? Like, he does know that, like, China isn't heavily, like, that kind of religious, right? Like, they have their own religions, but they don't operate that way. It has nothing... They're completely unrelated.
So there's an interesting thing. In the 5th and 6th
Chinese
centuries...
history is just lines on paper.
That's literally true.
That's amazing.
That's actually true. Oh, I just knocked my axe down. I got so excited I knocked my table over and my axe went with it. So here's an interesting little tidbit about Chinese history. Back in like the 6th and the 7th century, there was actually a pretty heavy Nestorian Christian presence in China. And because of the high literacy rate of Nestorian Christians, they were actually fairly highly valued in various Chinese courts. But then later on, there was sort of a intellectual rebellion against Nestorian Christianity, which kind of got them pushed out of the country. But you can still find artifacts and monuments well over 1,000 years old in China made by Christians. And then after the Nestorians got pushed out, there was essentially no Christian presence in China until the modern period. So there's a little bit of interesting history about Christianity in China.
China and Japan did not care about Christianity when it showed up.
Well, that's the thing. China actually really liked Christians when they first showed up the first time over 1,000 years ago. But then they stopped liking them, and then the second time, yeah, not so much.
Liking them and caring. They had their own religions. They did not they could incorporate it into their own.
Although,
and
the weird thing is
view it as sorry.
The weird thing is look at go to Seoul, South Korea, and look out at the city lights from like a high elevation. You will see an absurd number of crosses. South Korea has a lot of Christianity. It's an odd sort of thing. Because there's also, like more native beliefs in South Korea, but Christianity has done a bang up job in South Korea. I'm not sure why, but it's true. And I know because I did that when I first visited Seoul. Or when I visited Seoul, because I've only done it once, but I've been to the country 3 times. Anyway, South Korea is fun. Go to South Korea.
Country that taken over by communism, the first thing they do is start pushing evolution, not communism. Evolution.
Whoa!
900 and some people.
That might be true for China, but it definitely wasn't true for the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, for almost all of its history, was explicitly against Darwinian evolution because they thought it was an excuse for the bourgeoisie to oppress the proletariat because the bourgeoisie had been more successful in the economy, so they were obviously the better ones. And that actually resulted in bad science being used in Soviet farms, which resulted in famines.
There's your history major coming back.
Yeah, I do have a degree in history.
Well, went down and drank purple Kool-Aid and died. All killed themselves, same time.
Wait, he was a Christian!
Stark raving nuts. Is it possible?
Jim Jones was a Christian!
Oh, no.
I mean, granted, he wasn't exactly mainstream Christianity, but if you look at his theology, it wasn't exactly like crazy, weird, non-Christian stuff. It was relatively stock standard, except that he started to position himself as like a prophet. I'm
seeing parallels with Kent Hovind here. Is he going to drink some Kool-Aid at some point?
I mean, part of me hopes so, but part of me says, well, then what will I watch and drink with friends?
There's a lot of Kent Hovind on YouTube.
That's true.
There is a lot.
That's true. I've never actually really seen him connect Jim Jones to communism.
I think he's trying to connect it through insanity.
Well, so the thing is, Jim Jones had some sort of collectivist economic ideas. I'm trying to grab something over here, but it's not working. But yeah, he was a Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Chesh, you look way more comfortable than I am. I'm a little jealous.
I'm laying on the bed because my computer's broken right now.
Aww.
So I'm on the laptop.
Well, I hope it gets fixed.
Soon, maybe. We'll see. Depends on what Windows does. There's nothing I can do about it. I just have to wait for Windows to fix their stuff.
Microsoft, get on it. Okay, here we go.
Possible for a whole nation to go insane. I mean, the whole nation, 55 million people.
Didn't he already ask this question?
In Germany.
I think
and thought they could take over the world and kill anybody who wasn't German.
Oh,
because we were skipping ahead.
How about Joseph Stalin? Killed 110, or killed probably 60 million people.
Yep, about 60
under
million.
His reign.
Ish.
The guy was insane. Would it be possible for the whole world to go crazy?
I mean, do you have to be insane to kill tens of millions of people, or do you just have to be like immoral? I don't know. Maybe.
Bible says he deceives the whole world. Now,
but Stalin was an anti-evolutionist, Kent, so grew off trying to use those deaths as part of your rhetorical point.
Kids, you have got a mission field. I'm 63 years old. today is the oldest I have ever been. Now, I was supposed to be 64, but I was born late.
That's so funny.
But I'll be gone someday, and you got a job ahead of you, and the world is falling apart. Okay, Satan is deceiving the whole world, and it's going to be your job to try to straighten it out and try to stop this insanity. Every one of you lives within 5 miles of somebody who's going to hell.
What?
That ought to bother you. Every one of you is going to meet somebody that I will
That's
never
hilarious.
Do you
to
have
me.
a
I don't know why.
citation?
meet. And you're
for
going to meet
this?
somebody who believes this stupid evolution theory, and it's going to be your job to straighten them out and
What's
help them.
this 5 miles?
The
thing,
Bible
like?
says in the
Wait, is he saying that people are going to go to hell for believing evolution, including the Christians?
Look, it's your job to tell everyone that they're insane so that they go to heaven, as long as they're in a 5-mile radius of you. If they're past that,
I'm so
don't worry about it.
lost.
Someone else will get them.
Well,
I'm so lost
Oh, no.
trying to actually quantify what he just said.
yeah, I am also kind of I'm not going to try.
I don't know, man. I
Yeah.
don't know, man. Just keep going.
Okay, yeah. Are you sure you don't need more beer there, Chesh?
I do.
next verse in 2 Peter, the scoffers are going to say,
Okay, what are the scoffers going to
where
say,
is the
Kent?
promise of his coming? For since
Hey,
the fathers fell
Kent's
asleep,
talking,
all
he's
things
saying that. He
continue
must be a scoffer.
as they were from the beginning of the creation.
Who said that?
Here's the problem right here.
When was
They-
that ever people's main argument against Kent Hovind?
See, Kent is the one saying it. He's the only one saying it. He's the scoffer.
Yeah. So, well, one of the things I've noticed is that creationists are big into projection. Really big into projection. So, and by that, I mostly mean like the professional creationists like Kent. I don't necessarily mean like, like the
Joe Schmo on the side of the road. Yeah.
like, oh, he just goes to a church that teaches creationism. Like, no, he's probably not big into that. But the ones like Ken Ham, Kent Hovind, Ray Comfort, yeah,
The ones that have books.
right, exactly. Many of which I own, by the way.
Look at the world now and say it's always been happening this way. No, it hasn't always been going this way. There are two things they're ignorant of, right here. For this, they willingly are ignorant of. In the Hebrew, that means dumb on purpose.
I thought that's what it meant in the
They're
Greek,
willingly
Kent,
ignorant
because
of
Second Peter wasn't written in Hebrew, you moron.
He's just willingly
Oh,
ignorant
my
of that. Don't worry
God.
about it.
Oh, man.
How do you not know this, Kent? Plus, you don't think that there's any use to going to the Greek versions of the Bible anyway, because you're a KJV only guy ever since you got out of prison. For some reason, you decided to become KJV only in prison, even though it's amazingly bad, the arguments that are used for that. Oh, Maya, you're leaving? Oh, taking her son to homecoming. Well, that is a good excuse.
Yeah.
Maya, thank you for stopping by. We always love having you. He's dump on porpoise. Yes, dump on porpoise. Don't be mean to porpoises. Porpoises ever do to you guys.
And here they are. That by the word of God, the heavens were of old. What does that mean? God just spoke and created the heavens. God didn't lift a
That's
finger
what
to
that
build the
means.
universe. He didn't turn one screw, pound one nail. Didn't lift one shovel full of dirt. He just spoke and everything obeyed his voice. Every molecule lined up. Everything obeys the voice of God.
I feel like Kent is taking this way too literally because let's just assume this is true. I'm not
Where
saying.
does the molecules come from?
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. In order to have a voice, you have to have pre-existing molecules. Because if you don't have molecules, what's going to vibrate to your voice?
Just let Kent do his thing with that smug look on his face. Because that's what he's good at.
Man. Speaking of
Yeah,
smug,
thank-
stay tuned. I'm going to be designing Dapper Dino merch this weekend and the next few days. I'm going to start a Teespring because I've had requests. So, yeah, that's a thing that's happening.
Looking forward to it.
Yay. And I may hire Chesh to do some help with that, depending on how badly my art goes. Because, yeah, sometimes I
It'll be
art,
fine.
but sometimes I don't art.
Like designs on Teespring are a lot different depending on what you're going for, but that's all good. I'm around.
All right. Well, I'm thinking I can probably cartoonify my avatar reasonably easy.
Oh
with
yeah,
my own
it's a
knowledge.
dapper dinosaur.
Well, yeah. So, it'll take a little bit of work, but I'm gonna get some cell shaded style dapper dinosaur stuff. I'm gonna need slogans and stuff like that. But Dapper Dino merch is coming. And seriously, if anyone knows a company that will make custom oven mitts that I don't have to buy like right now, they'll just accept it like Teespring as a design, and then people can buy. Let me know, because I've actually had specific responses requesting oven mitts. So
For the face palms.
yes, for the face palms.
That is the funniest thing to me.
There, I can face palm. It works.
Except for us, he's having some trouble out of us right now, but he's going to fix that one of these days. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Coming soon to a city near you. But
all right, are you going to stop?
The scoffers are willingly ignorant. Number one, that by the word of God the heavens were of old. We cover that on video. Dinosaur, a blue one, ignorant of what the creation add up to from the Bible.
Okay, here we go. We're back to
Hutton
actual
said,
claims.
Oh no, it's much older than that. Maybe
James Hutton book.
Millions of years. And this was also a time in the late 1700s of many revolutions going on. We had the American Revolution, the French, the Polish, the Spanish, the German. Everybody's rebelling against their government, against the form of monarchy.
I'm a fan of most of those things.
Democracy. Well, regardless of the political side of all this, the fact is,
what is that?
People were looking for a way to get rid of the Bible because the.
What's that one before the German Revolution? Rallian? It says Italian. I'm just looking at a bad screen. Okay. Never mind. Is that the one? Oh, yeah, okay. Italian Revolution. Okay.
1848.
What do you bet the odds that the dates he listed are incorrect?
Well, 1776 is correct.
They're not right.
1789 is right. I don't know about the others, honestly. But you know who was first? USA. 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 Sorry. I'm almost never patriotic, but sometimes, you know.
I feel like you're just dissing Canada right now.
No,
he's just mad because I'm here.
Yeah, basically. Who invited the Canuck? Seriously. Oh wait, that was
you did.
Me. Yeah, I did. I definitely did. Actually, I invited this particular Canadian.
I see how it is. I'm just gonna go. I get it. It's cool. It's fine.
Go get some beer.
Look what you did, Dapper Dino.
I'm hoping she gets some beer.
I'm pretty sure she's doing that.
Yeah, good, because it seems like this is the kind of thing that requires beer. I don't know how you're still here, honestly.
Well,
like if I were you,
drinking vodka.
Looks like water, but then again, it also looks like vodka.
If I do that, then it looks more like vodka.
Okay.
The Bible says, to honor the king. And so they said, we have to discredit the Bible to get our political revolution to work.
Do we?
By the way, when they took over China with the communists, first thing they did was ban the Bibles.
So I like how he just ignores the anti-monarchy parts of the Bible, like the Book of Judges.
Why?
Well, because you don't actually have to discredit the Bible in order to be suspicious of monarchy. Because if you read the Old Testament histories, the Old Testament is pretty darn suspicious of monarchy. And it's not like the kings in the Old Testament have a great track record according to the Old Testament.
Wasn't God like, no, I don't want to give you guys kings, but they're like, no, we want kings, and then they got kings, and then everything.
And one of God's big reasons why maybe you don't want a king was literally because, hey, they're going to charge you taxes.
And Kent does not pay taxes.
Right.
We all know that.
So it seems like his argument here is at odds with a lot of his other beliefs. So, like, why doesn't he just take the anti-monarchy parts of the Bible more seriously?
Do you think Kent, hung out with Kyle in prison?
I don't know when Kyle was in prison or where, so maybe.
And then Kyle was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn some moral lessons from this guy. See if I can't steal a whole bunch of money from Steve. It's all Kent's fault.
There you go. We can now officially blame the collapse of the Non Sequitur show on Kent Hovind. Kent.
and start teaching evolution. Every country that
is
taken over by
actually
communism, the first thing they do is start pushing evolution. Not communism. Evolution.
No!
That's essential.
Kent, they don't! It wasn't until well into the Soviet Union's history that they finally gave up on non-evolution and started just accepting it as true. Oh, I hate this so much.
Back when everybody
Any
thought
more
the Earth
clues?
was a few thousand years old, James Hutton came along and said, oh no, it's millions of years old. And he developed an idea that they called uniformitarianism. Woo, kids, look at that. Big word, bold print. Those are always on the test, right? So, might as well learn it.
I mean, that's true.
Uniformitarianism means the way things are happening today is the way they've always been happening. Now, it's not true, but that's what it means. Okay. They said,
Kent, it's not just that the way that things are happening now is the way they've always been happening. It's more like the laws of physics haven't changed in the past, and that applies to geology. There are geological processes that people have discovered that do not occur today because the chemistry of Earth is different. So, I hate how he strawmans geology because he does it so blatantly and so badly. Unidentified Leviathan, yes, Stalin was an atheist, but he was also an anti-evolutionist. He did not believe in Darwinian evolution. And yeah, it was Stalin's way or the highway, but... And yeah, Hitler's religious positions were sort of... It's unclear. I don't think he was an atheist, but I also don't think...
Hitler was a Catholic.
Well, he was baptized as a Catholic.
Well-documented Catholic. The Catholic Church, backed him up in what he was doing.
But I'll also say that if you read his writings, he's not super big a fan of the Catholic Church, it seems. And he was also willing to play ball with a lot of the Protestant churches. And he went back and forth on how Christian he sounded based on who he was talking to. Yeah. I think he was an opportunist whose actual personal beliefs are hard to discern in terms of religion. That's what I'm going to say.
I would probably be willing to say that he was Christian of either Protestant or Catholicism, but so essentially I believe in Jesus and God, but I'm not going to ascribe to either one of these directly because I need both of them for what I'm doing.
See, I would agree, except he has writings that make it sound like he's not a big fan of Christianity when he's talking to people who aren't big fans of Christianity, and I don't know when he's being honest.
That's what I mean. It's given the time period, given when he lived, given what was going on, I would probably say that it is most likely that he did in fact believe these things, but was more than willing to be malleable about what he said depending on who he was talking to.
I take a slightly more reserved position where I say I don't think that I can really determine what his personal beliefs were religiously, and being a Christian was certainly one of the possibilities, but I don't think there's enough evidence to say that I would say that that's what he was. I would say it's up in the air enough that I would not ascribe any particular religious view to him because he's so inconsistent about it.
I'd be willing to throw that onto him, especially just given how much he used it. Even if I think at that point, if you're going to be that vague, or if you're going to be that particular, what do you need for him? Does all of his writing have to be religious, or can some of it be secular to ascribe what somebody believed? Do you know what I mean?
It's not just that some of it was secular.
Not just talking to him directly.
It's not just that some of it was secular. It's that some of it was explicitly anti-Christian.
Was it anti-Christian or anti?
Yeah. No, there was some areas where he came across as very anti-Christianity. There are actually even some areas where he came across as pro-Islam.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm not sure I want to ascribe any particular belief to him, because he was so willing to throw anyone under the bus if it seemed like a good idea at the time. So, and I'm not saying he wasn't a Christian. I'm just saying I'm not willing to say for certain what he was. But I also don't want this to turn into a Hitler stream, because
yay!
Screw that.
And you guys just heard my opinion on Hitler. I didn't say anything. I have no idea.
You can just say
he was a jerk.
Yes.
And he had a stupid mustache.
But he was good with dogs. Actually,
I won't agree to that.
Here's
because
the
I don't
thing.
know.
His stupid mustache was actually based on Charlie Chaplin because he was a big Charlie Chaplin fan. Even after Charlie Chaplin's film The Dictator, which was about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a Charlie Chaplin fan. There you go.
The present is the key to the past.
There's Kent drinking
I don't think
vodka.
so. I think the Bible's the only perfect key to the past. But anyway.
Uncle Kent, no relation. What are you doing?
James Hutton's book on uniformitarianism had a great influence on Charles Lyell. Charles Lyell was a lawyer from Scotland, and he
I have
hated
to chew
the Bible.
every single one of those syllables.
Somebody calculated one time that if all the lawyers in the world were laid end to end around the equator, we would all be better off.
No, he didn't.
This guy's walking through a grave cemetery one time.
Isn't this the guy who went to
"Here lies a
jail?"
lawyer."
Well, okay, so yes.
And he represented himself.
No, he had a lawyer, but he insisted on basically using the defense that this wasn't a real law. So basically, his defense was, I don't think this is a real law, and I don't understand that it's a law. But witnesses for the prosecution came forward and said that Kent had talked about how stupid he thought structuring laws were, and how he didn't think that he owed the IRS money, even though he knew that they thought he did.
And that's how he became inmate 0647-2017.
Did you actually memorize that?
I did, but then I forgot it, but then I wrote it down again.
Okay.
Just referred to.
Now, here's a question. If Data were to ever take over the Enterprise after being, like, you know, possessed by an alien or something, and he were to give some kind of really long alphanumeric password for the command codes.
17346732147 Charlie 327897777 643 Tango 732 Victor 731178888 732476789764376 lock.
There it is. Well done. Applause. Let's get some applause in the chat. That was amazing. And I actually know for a fact that Bent Hovind has actually memorized that password.
Took me 20 years to memorize it.
Technically, that's true.
And the Pogo song helped a lot.
Actually, Ben, can you link to the Pogo song in the chat so people can watch it if they want to? Because it's a great song. So let's get back to Kent after that extremely nerdy. I say extremely nerdy, but it's not like our next stream isn't going to be super nerdy, right, Chesh?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It might just
it might take the cake
know.
for nerdiness.
Yeah, it's
if you guys like nerd content, then oh my god, tune in tomorrow to the Great Debate Community because, whoo, you ain't seen nothing yet.
it's gonna be.
I'm gonna watch.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm actually really excited, but it's also amazingly nerdy.
Said, wow, they're
I'll put the
two
link
people in the same grave.
Nice.
Yeah. But Charles Lyell. The only thing about lawyer jokes is I know lots of lawyer jokes. Lawyers don't think they're funny, and the people don't think they're jokes. But
was that a joke?
Charles Lyell wrote 3 books in 1830 called Principles of Geology.
He wrote 3 books called Principles of Geology. I find that hard.
The Bible at every
in the same
opportunity
year.
he could. And if you go to public school, especially if you go to a secular college, you're going to run into a teacher who loves to mock the Bible. How many have already had one of those before? They love to mock and laugh at the Bible.
I actually have never had a teacher that liked to mock the Bible. Have either of you?
No, I haven't.
Chesh?
I do have this one talking shirt that I keep way in the back of my closet because it doesn't really shut up very often.
Oh, but is that a teacher?
Oh, I thought you said t-shirt.
Oh, I'm all confused here. I'm like, what?
Ooh. No, I've never had a teacher that openly. The closest thing I got was I had one teacher in high school, last year, that was in my religious studies class. He kind of poked a little bit of fun at whatever we were talking about that day. He wasn't like openly being like, "Oh, this isn't real," and mocking it. He was just like, "This is what these people believe." And then he would crack jokes about different topics depending on. So he wasn't like directly making fun of any particular religion.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Kent is just paranoid.
Oh, he's paranoid.
Well,
Lyle
yeah.
said, men of superior talent, he's talking about himself, who thought for themselves and were not blind.
I really thought he was going to say,
He kept
he's
talking
talking
about
about me.
It's projection again.
You rest your authority on scriptural authority. You have a religious prejudice. They've got all these catchphrases that they use to mock at Christians. Lyle said his goal was to free the science from Moses. What does that mean? Well, Moses gave us, the first 5 books of the Bible talking about the flood.
I've said this before, but like I went to a fairly conservative Catholic high school, and even they were like, "No, Moses didn't write the first 5 books of the Bible. That's crazy."
Most of the churches that I've ever been to don't even talk about who wrote what. They just talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the extremely conservative view in a lot of Christian and Jewish circles is that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, but there's really no serious scholarship, whether believing or not, that's going to accept that.
Yeah.
It's not a realistic possibility at this point.
He didn't like people thinking about the flood. Lyle invented what is called the geologic column. How many have ever heard?
No, he didn't invent it. He described it. It's a thing that objectively exists. It's there physically. You can go look at it in places.
Pretty sure he's just showing lines on paper, so...
Well, that's true. But then again, the Bible is just lines on paper. Oh my god!
Checkmate.
What just happened? Oh my god, this is amazing.
You gotta use that the next time you debate him.
Oh, I'm actually... Maybe I should set up a second debate. Tell you what, put in the comments, not the chat, put in the comments what you think another debate topic that would be good for me and Kent Hovind would be. So just,
Is Bible lines on paper.
So actually, I actually offered to do a 2-part debate. One was Are Dinosaurs Lizards, and then the follow-up Are Birds Dinosaurs. He didn't want to do the Are Dinosaurs Lizards one. Yeah, I think it was a mistake on his part to accept the Are Dinosaurs Birds one based on my performance, but...
Heard of this geologic column before. He named each of the layers.
Pineapples and
Cenozoic,
elephants,
Mesozoic, Paleozoic.
Yes.
Maybe you saw the movie Jurassic Park, named after the Jurassic layer. He gave each layer of rock a name and an age.
No, it's not each layer, Kent. The Jurassic isn't a single layer. This is so stupid, I don't even want to address it. But there are multiple layers during the Jurassic period. The Jurassic period is identified by certain fairly significant index fossils. I mean, I'm even at a loss of words as to how stupid this is. Yeah, he says it right there, an index fossil. Yeah, the Jurassic layer isn't dependent on it being a single... There's not a single Jurassic layer. It comes in multiple layers because the Jurassic period spanned a fairly large period of time during which different depositional environments occurred.
And an index fossil. He made up the whole thing. 18.
No, he didn't make it up.
That's a fact. The Earth
There's
has layers of rock. That's a fact. No question. The evolutionist says each one formed slowly over millions of years. The creationist says, no, these are all from the flood in the days of Noah. All of them.
Yeah, but that's what we call stupid. All right. If you haven't seen it, take a look at, let's see, which video was the one where I went into Colorado? What was that one? There's a video where yeah, Chesh, come on. You haven't seen all of my videos 4 or 5 times? What is wrong with you? Seriously.
I've been busy with trolls.
I like the random yellow words Kent has.
Yeah.
At least the top row there, slowly, quickly, lots of time, little time. But then on the bottom, you have millions of years on one side and just the flood.
Oh, and so Bob Knob asks, wouldn't a flood only account for a single layer? So a flood actually could result in multiple layers, but every layer that resulted from the flood would be a layer of graded bedding. But that's not what we actually find in the geological column. We don't just find layers of graded bedding. We do find some layers of graded bedding because there have been floods, but they're not worldwide, and they're not just sequential layers of graded bedding all over each other. But there's a video where I talk about the geology of Colorado going through the Phanerozoic era. So, like starting from the Cambrian all the way up to the Cenozoic. And the thing is, it goes back and forth between being land-borne strata, like freshwater strata and desert strata laid down by wind and stuff like that. And it goes back to being marine. And then it goes back to being terrestrial kind of environments where there's stuff like land animals and stuff like that. And so none of this fits with the flood at all. There are places in the world where you could probably more or less fit it in with the flood, but there are also places where it's just impossible to square it with a flood narrative. It doesn't work.
Sounds like you're just a scoffer.
Well,
there's a lot of things about the flood narrative that don't work, particularly as long as you take it literally in that it was global. Like, I don't know, written history.
This is what Kent makes me want to do sometimes. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh no.
Oh.
He's got the axe.
Yeah.
Don't chop your ear off.
And the evolutionists are always trying to erase that line and make their theory part of the fact, when it's not. This geologic column is the Bible.
That's because theories are based on facts. And
oh my god, he just doesn't know what words mean.
Yeah. Also, I want this background that he has. See this background he has in the slot? I want it to be a magic eye thing, but then I just checked and it's not, and that disappoints me. I want there to be like a hidden T-Rex in there, but there isn't.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, he missed a big opportunity there. Like, how cool would that be if he low-key slipped in, some magic eye pictures into his slides? That would bring him up several notches in my estimation, but he didn't.
For the evolutionist, and you can only find it one place in the world. The only place you'll ever find the geologic column is in the textbooks.
It's funny because when he was talking to Aaron Ra a few years later, he admitted that there were several places where you could find it, and then Aaron found 24 other places where you could find the entire geologic column.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, turns out you're just straight lying, and you admit to it a few years after you made this.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't exist. This guy admits it. He probably lost his job for admitting it, but he says, if there were a column of sediments, unfortunately, no such column exists. You kids are going to be taught in school about the geologic column, and it's pure fiction. It doesn't exist on the planet. If it did, it'd be 100 miles thick.
Why would it be 100 miles thick? Do you think there's
said that?
How? Deposition of sediment can vary in amount of deposition per period of time.
Nope, has to be 100 miles.
And it's totally not like things get thinner when they're put under lots of pressure.
Right. Yeah, metamorphic rock is totally a thing, Kent.
Get me out. Get me out.
I am losing patience with this already. Maybe, do I need more booze?
Of course.
Type 1 in the chat if I need more booze. Type 2 if I don't.
To be fair, if it makes you feel any better, by saying already, it has been over an hour and a half.
Okay, that's true.
If it makes you feel better.
Yeah, it makes me feel a little bit better, but okay, so that's a lot of ones. There's a 69. That's Kevin Malone, Kevin Malone's favorite number. Just saying. Even Unidentified Leviathan says that
he voted 3 times.
Did he really? That's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't say you could only vote once.
I only voted once, but you know that I would vote 69 times. I just didn't want to spam the chat.
All right. Well, I'm gonna make myself a drink then, and Chesh and Bent, I don't know, talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Tell Ben what it is.
Yeah, tell me all about Dungeons and Dragons.
Do you not
I feel like
know?
it's more Dungeons than it is Dragons, but I don't know.
That entirely depends on the campaign. Then that's up to the DM.
There's a lot more to it than Dungeons, and there's a lot more to it than Dragons.
It depends on what kind of game you're running. Some games are very they're called dungeon crawls, or they're called meat grinders.
And I have a 60-sided die that came with my last Curiosity box.
Nice.
I don't play. I'm not going to use it, but I have it.
Well, maybe you will get to use it one day. In a dungeon heavy game, it's essentially like a dungeon crawl. The whole game takes place in a dungeon, and you're just going down and exploring this dungeon and figuring out your resources and surviving and getting into encounter after encounter after encounter, and maybe solving some kind of mystery, possibly.
And
usually
they
puzzles.
Months, right, or longer.
It depends on how often you play and for how long.
Yeah.
Campaign, like if you're running a campaign can last years. If you're running just a meat grinder usually only lasts like a week or two, because like essentially like the Tomb of Horrors, which is one giant dungeon, is you could play it for a couple months, but it's mostly just like make sure you have extra characters that you've brought in, because the whole place is designed to kill you. But that's like a dungeon, but it's considered a meat grinder because you go through characters. You're not supposed to get attached to your characters.
Okay.
But if you're playing a campaign, you're actually probably less likely to spend so much time in dungeons, because you're going to be doing social encounters and maybe solving problems and helping the townsfolk and building your own castle, or maybe like depending on what you want to do. Usually campaigns have like longer overarching traveling time, or sometimes an entire campaign can take place in one singular city.
Okay, cool. On an unrelated note, I am getting a bunch of text messages. The band might be added to a show this coming Friday, which would be pretty cool.
Ooh.
We haven't had a show since June 26th, I think.
I'm getting a bunch of messages I can't read because they're on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Twitter jail. So you can't even read them?
Nope.
Can't do anything on Twitter? See, I put myself in Twitter jail for like years. I just don't. I have an account from a long time ago.
I'm stuck on this page that is showing me what tweets got me, that it got reported. And it's just like, you can't do anything until we look at your appeal. Because I'm like, I'm appealing these. I'm not deleting these. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't care. Hooray! I don't have to deal with Twitter. Woo! Oh. Nope.
I feel like the Dapper Dino's almost back.
Maybe.
I'm back!
Pathfinder has a character class Cavalier. The Cavalier is pretty hilarious, yeah.
So, Ben, now you know all there is to know about Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Who?
Bent?
Oh,
Bent
yeah,
Hovind?
what?
You know all there is to know about Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Exactly. Everything. Yeah. Every last detail.
So, by the way, if you're just joining us, then there's going to be a Dungeons and Dragons stream on tomorrow? I don't know.
Yes.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 2.
Noon my time.
EST.
PM EST. 11 a.m. ST. Because the United States is going back to standard time tomorrow.
Speaking of which, I need to put that into my calendar.
Yeah. Important. Because Canada's not doing it for what, 2 more weeks?
November 3rd is when we change.
Is that 2 weeks?
Man.
That's next week. Next weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's another week. Yeah. So there'll be a week where Canada and America are all out of sync, and it'll be a headache for everyone. Well, everyone who has to deal, across those borders.
I think we should just stop changing the time.
I agree. I mean, I live in Arizona where we don't change the time. It's great. You know what my clock is going to do tonight? Nothing. Not a gosh darn thing.
That's awesome.
Dapper Dino and his Web of Lives. Bob Knob, you and Dave McInnes should talk, because apparently He's been calling me dishonest Dino because I allege that my monocle is real, and he alleges that it is not.
Ooh.
Yeah. Chesh, you know my
I don't know,
monocle.
be careful talking to that Dave guy. I hear he's a bigot. According to some random people on Twitter, they told me so.
Okay. Chesh, do you know my monocle's name?
Your monocle has a name?
It does.
It's the best name ever.
It is.
Okay.
It's Monocle Lewinsky.
Oh. Good.
How could it not be real if it doesn't have that name?
It's true. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
All right, I have additional rum in some additional Coke. I forgot the bitters, but whatever. Here we go.
It's a joke. Now, I think you ought to
You're a
learn it
joke.
for the test.
Face it.
And then when the textbook says, how old is the Jurassic layer? You can answer and say, the textbook says 70 million years old. However, this is not correct.
No, it's not correct. 70 million years ago was still the late Cretaceous, Kent, you frickin' moron. Oh my goodness. It was almost the end of the Cretaceous. Oh.
Look at that smug look on his face, too.
Oh my goodness.
He's like, I got him, guys.
Can I reach Kent with this axe?
Just throw it at him.
I'm gonna throw it at you. Ah! I think it. Oh my goodness! It fell off of the map. I lost my axe, guys. It's gone.
Oh no!
I'm not even kidding. It's gone. I think it despawned. I don't have an axe anymore.
Way to go, Kent! You ruined his axe.
I'm gonna see if I can't get it back. Axe, come back to me.
And that's why you should go to your local magic shop and get yourself an axe of returning.
Okay. Oh my goodness. What's? Oh, my axe.
And you're gone.
Just throw the table at him.
Okay, and then where am I'm not even in the same place as I was.
What is happening?
What is?
I'm trying to get back to my table. Oh, wait, now I have 2 axes for some reason.
Oh, there you go.
Well, this one is like backwards. Give me a second. I'm going to turn it around. Dual wielding axes. Ah! I'm going to throw them both at Kent. Okay, now I don't have an axe again, but I don't even care. Let's keep going with this craziness.
Let the teacher know I studied
I'm
the
not
book.
drunk,
I
you're
learned
drunk.
the stupid stuff you told me to learn, but I don't believe it. So you can fill your brain with all kinds of stuff. I decided when I was 14 years old, I wanted to learn the capital of every country in the world.
Okay.
I can still today name the capital of every country in the world. Pick a
Do
country,
it.
I'll tell you the capital.
I don't believe you.
What?
Do it all.
Yeah.
M.
United States, Canada,
Yes.
Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica.
Well, it's true. It starts with an S, right? Capital S. Okay.
Wait, where did all these other people come from? Those aren't all teenage girls. This is a bald dude. Is this a different day?
No, it's the same. If you look in that left row, all the Russian
Front.
teenagers are in the front.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's
And
Chess right
then-
there.
The normies are all back and off to the side.
Okay, so
The normal congregation.
the teenage
Except
You
girls
have to
need-
separate out the
Sloan and all
teenagers.
these Russian girls
Well, it's not just the
had a Kent
teenagers.
Hovind presentation.
They seem to have separated out the teenage girls, like very
Yeah.
specifically. Because I don't
Right.
see a whole
Flew
bunch
a
of.
bunch of Russian teenage girls over.
Oh, are
Yeah.
these like mail order brides?
I think so.
Hmm.
Just more people to divorce Kent later on. I don't know.
Yes. Okay.
That's so funny.
Some of you look at me like,
I don't even know.
Well, explain
I've
it.
been
Well,
there.
this is capital's joke. What's the capital of Mexico? M. That's funny.
It's Mexico City, isn't it?
No, it's M because it's the first letter and it's capitalized. That was the joke.
Oh, that was a joke?
Yes, that's how Kent Hovind
Wow,
jokes.
that was so bad that I didn't even
Poorly.
notice it was supposed to be a punchline. That's like the worst thing imaginable. My goodness. Oh.
More vodka.
What?
When you go to Grand Canyon, you'll see the Earth has layers. There's no question they were there.
Oh God, he's
but
back
what
on the
does it mean?
canyon.
At least it's a real
full
claim.
Erosion marks between the layers? Huh. And why is there no soil built up on top of the rock?
Okay, why are there no erosion marks between the layers? There are. Do you expect there to just be an empty, like, air gap between layers? Okay.
That's what it shows in the textbook.
It doesn't
If
even
the water
show that.
can float in space, why can't the rock float
Okay.
over the air?
So,
Come on.
okay, so I want to do an analogy. You guys have had parfait before, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so let's say I put down an uneven layer of one of the parfait ingredients as the base of my parfait, right?
Why would you do that?
It's all bumpy, okay?
I don't know, but I'm going back to the cooking show.
But then I add another layer. Like, let's say I add some whipped cream, right? And I dump that in. Is there going to be a gap between the two layers, or is the whipped cream just going to settle onto the bottom layer?
Weird, like a vacuum forms between the two. Wait,
Yeah,
no,
and they
it doesn't.
fall down, right? So let's say we have 1 million years of deposition, and then we have 500,000 years of erosion, and then we have another 1 million years of deposition. It's not like the deposition is going to stop at where the old horizon line was of the old deposition. It's just going to be deposited right on top of the old erosion line. And there are erosional features in the geological column, even in the Grand Canyon.
Hit play. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Even the booze isn't always helping.
Look, you can get a jar of sand, rocks, gravel,
This is
mud,
what you
add
signed up
water
for,
and
Chesh.
shake it up,
I hope you're happy.
and it'll settle into layers for you in a matter of seconds. How many seen those sand art things? Two pieces of glass and different colored sand in between. You flip it over and it makes all these weird designs. It'll form dozens of layers in a few minutes. It doesn't take millions of years. I do it all the time on my YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official.
It's the same size as the Grand Canyon too, Kent. Oh wait, no, it's not.
Look, this is one of those things where it's just like you have to ignore so much about geology to think that this is an accurate representation of sedimentation that go
Kent
look
doesn't
up
know.
some
Interesting
basic
question.
geology.
He'll have to ask, or he'll have to do some research on it.
Yeah, basically.
One of them said, that's just a toy. Yes, I know, but it represents reality that layers can form rapidly, and they don't like it.
No.
During the Scope monkey trial in 1920.
Layers can form rapidly, but the layers that form rapidly form graded bedding, which isn't what we see in most of the geological record, Kent. Look, if it were, then I would be totally on board for a global flood, but it just isn't.
25 in Dayton, Tennessee, the atheist lawyer, Clarence Darrow, said, the
Was
lowest
Clarence
layers
Darrow an
are
atheist?
obviously the
Yeah, it
oldest.
was first he was an atheist, then he was a
Don't you fall for
lawyer.
that.
It's
I wish
in
Duke
his,
were here because then I could tell him to
Lowest
look it up.
layer is not the oldest.
Yeah.
I was speaking in Rapid City, South Dakota, and Union Center, South Dakota.
Why
years
are
ago.
we
Union
asking
Center is
this
right
lawyer about anything? Who cares? What does it
Chesh,
have to
I don't know if you
Not
know,
just a
but
lawyer,
lawyers.
atheist lawyer.
Yeah, it was an atheist lawyer, and I don't know if you know, but if you're an atheist and a lawyer, it makes you an expert on geology.
Oh,
It's
okay.
part of atheist lawyer school.
Got it.
It's different from regular lawyer school. If you're a Christian lawyer, you don't go to geology classes, but if you're an atheist lawyer, you have to. That's how lawyering works.
I want to
Gotcha.
see the dissertation of the atheist lawyer versus the Christian lawyer.
Speaking
I
of,
wonder if it says, "Hello, my name is atheist lawyer," whatever it was. I forgot already.
which reminds me, Kent's doctoral dissertation is available on WikiLeaks.
Don't go there. It's a
It's-
silly place.
It is a silly place, but it has Kent Hovind's doctoral thesis or dissertation or whatever. I'm too far gone to make these fine distinctions here. But yeah, it's hilarious. It's I don't know if you know, but the flat earther Anthony Riley, who goes by Sleeping Warrior on YouTube, he did a master's thesis recently, and those two papers are on a similar level.
I I have the PDF. Patriot University, dissertation for Doctor of Philosophy in Christian Education, blah, blah, blah. And then dedication page, and then introduction. Hello, my name is Kent Hovind. I am a creation/science evangelist. That's all I'm going to read. But it starts great, and it only gets better.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw my hat in the ring and say that I'm willing to bet that Anthony Riley has more grammatical errors than Kent does.
Ooh, you know what? We should get Kevin from Dead Kennedy in Space to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk to him on Twitter and see, because he did an Anthony Riley paper, like 3-part series,
Yep.
and through the whole thing, as he's reading it, he has it up on screen, and he's got like all the correction notations in like red ink right there.
Yep.
And it's amazing. So
yeah, they did a little bit of a breakdown on Red's Rhetoric's channel, and
Yeah.
I actually the thumbnail that's on that video I made.
oh,
and
nice.
The papers that are showing are actually his paper that was graded by Dr. Misha Griffith.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh, that's great. But okay, we have to get an actual English teacher to grade Ken's dissertation. Oh, Ken.
How many
It
red
is
pens
middle
do you
of no
think they
place.
had?
It's not even on the map. 38 people came to church. There were 40 people in town.
Hot
Other
take,
two
Kent
out pulling
Hovind's
the
in
camp, I
cahoots
figure, I
with
don't
the Red Pen
Oh,
Company.
okay. If you haven't seen Logic's "Hello, my name is Kent Hovind" series, first, what is wrong with you? And second, go see it, because he references this story, and I like his answer to what those other 2 people who weren't in church were doing, which is they were whipping each other in a dungeon. So there you go.
But they weren't there. We had a great revival, man. 38 people piled into the church, and we had a great. Anyway, later we went down to the School of Mines in Rapid City, South Dakota, and a guide is giving us a tour. And we stopped next to the geologic time scale. And he said, ladies and gentlemen,
I love that skeleton, by
this
the way.
layer of rock you're looking at right here is about 70 million years old. My daughter was 12 years old at the time. She raised her hand. She said, sir,
This
how
is
about
one-
Joseph
Oh
Stalin?
my goodness,
Killed
no!
110.
I just
or
accidentally skipped
killed
that.
probably,
Oh my god.
Why did you do that?
60
It was
million
an accident. I'm
people.
Did he
sorry.
just-
Whoa, kids,
Hold on,
don't
did
you
he
fall
just
for that
liken
at
his
all.
daughter
And why is
raising
there no soil
raising
bill
her
from an
hand
official?
to
Dropped
Stalin?
Lowest
No,
40 years ago.
no.
Union Center is right there.
Some
Right.
dinosaur
Later we went down to the
skipped behind
School
by
of
mistake.
Yeah, that was my bad on that one. That was me clicking really badly off of the play button, and I am so sorry. This is me formally announcing my retirement from you, because there's no recovery from
Whoa.
that.
Breaking news!
So I hope you like the Dapper Dinosaur channel, but it's over. It's all over. That's it. That's all she wrote. But no. This is another one of the. What I was trying to say is this is another one of those stories that I don't think is true.
Yeah, I don't believe this story. I don't believe anything Kent says at face value.
Basically.
Rapid City, South Dakota, and a guide is giving us a tour. And we stopped next to the geologic time scale. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, this layer of rock you're looking at right here is about 70 million years old. My daughter was 12 years old at the time. She raised her hand. She said, sir, how do you know how old that layer is? He said, honey, we tell the age of the layer by the index fossils. Yes, index fossils date.
Okay, before he keeps going, I'm going to point out that index fossils are used to establish the relative age of layers. So which layer came before which other one, not the absolute age. That is determined radiometrically via bracketing from various igneous intrusions at certain points in the column.
Can I also point out real quick that he's about to pick apart this guy, this person who worked in a museum's answer to a 12-year-old girl?
Yeah, like
about how this actually works.
Yeah, like I'm sure that this guy who's answering questions from 12-year-olds is, his answer is a peer-reviewed paper.
Well, his answer is not only a peer-reviewed paper, but even if, let's say, that he does have a degree in, and this is his field of study, and that he is touring around these 12-year-olds for some reason, that he's not giving the 12-year-old an actual, in-depth 3-year study of how this actually works.
Right, yeah. He's just trying to like, okay, this is a question from a kid. Let's give a quick answer so we can move on with the tour. And that's assuming that any of this is true. And by the way, that previous skeleton that he showed from kind of the rear, I've heard Kent call that skeleton a dinosaur, which is not. Then I've heard him call it a zeuglodon in the same breath, and zeuglodon is an extinct whale. And in fact, it's neither a whale or a dinosaur. It's actually a lizard. It's a mosasaur. So he gets it wrong on every single count in every way he could get it wrong.
He doesn't know. He'd have to do some research.
Research he will never do. Oh, Kent, you are so dumb.
Determine the age of rock layers. She said, okay, thank you, sir. We walked around the other side. We're standing over here. And he said, now, folks, these bones you're looking at are about 100 million years old. My daughter raised her hand again. She said, sir, how do you know the age of the bones? He said, we tell the age of the bones by which layer we found them in. She said, excuse me, sir. When we were standing over there, you told me you know the age of the layers by the bones, and now you're telling me you know the age of the bones by the layers. Isn't that circular reasoning?
Oh, no, it's not. It would be circular reasoning if that's all we had, but it's not. It's not like mosasaurs are an index fossil, and it's not like we haven't done radiometric dating to get... Wait a minute. What is this picture? Is that supposed to be Kent and his daughter?
Oh my god.
Apparently Kent thinks of himself as like Captain America in plain clothes.
So, you know what that means? It means that his story is just lines on paper.
Yes!
So I did just look it up, and it turns out that Kent Hovind does actually have a daughter, so he was not lying about that.
Yeah,
so
no.
Not everything he says is a lie.
He actually showed a picture of his daughter at the beginning of this video, but I didn't play it because it was pointless.
But the fact that I looked up if he has a daughter or not, because I wasn't sure if he was lying about it, I mean, that's how bad his credibility is.
Yeah. Man. And that's apparently how he sees museum staff, as vaguely Jewish, bald old men who don't know what they're talking about.
It looks like Steve without a beard.
It kind of does. Okay, someone screen capture this and send it to Steve and ask if he's the museum employee in question.
Oh, because there's 2 lenses on the glasses, so it's not him.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
yeah Steve.
Yeah,
as we all know, Steve only gets 1 lens.
That guide had the strangest look on his face. It was almost as if he were thinking.
You already said that joke about a hypothetical atheist debate opponent, Ken. Don't repeat your stupid jokes.
Turns out all of his pretend stories are the same pretend story.
Particular fossils indicate...
This one time I was in a museum in the air debating an atheist. That's the story.
It's the age of the rock in which they are found. How did they date
1999. Way to go back 20 years.
That's one of the newer things he cited
age of the fossils
in this video.
Themselves. Here on page 306, they tell the kids the layers of rock can be dated
1994.
On the next page, scientists determine the age of the fossils from the rock layers.
So, okay, I feel like at this point there needs to be some kind of explanation as to how index fossils worked before radiometric dating helped us calibrate these things. The idea is, okay, we notice that there is a certain order to the geological record in terms of which fossils come after which, right? So at the very bottom of the Phanerozoic, we have things like Anomalocaris and Trilobites. Did I miss something?
I'm laughing at unidentified Leviathan.
Oh!
I'm assuming they're being sarcastic in that, because Kent literally hasn't changed any of his arguments since...
It's true. It's true. His slides are still exactly the same slides. Like, there's no updating.
He does, yeah, he only adds slides. He says he's got like 10,000 slides or something like that. So.
Yeah, but he doesn't ever bother to change the old ones. In fact, I've actually seen... at least one Kent Hovind video from before like PowerPoint was a thing, and he was actually using like a projector, and the slides were essentially the same. They weren't formatted the same, but they had the same information and some of the same pictures. So yeah. But anyway, so you see this situation where it's like, okay, these bottom layers have like trilobites, and then the next layer up has things like Sarcopterygian fish, and then we get up to a higher layer and we get things like conodonts. Then we get up to a slightly higher layer and we have aedosaurs, and then we get up to a slightly higher layer and we have ammonites. And this order is always the same, even though sometimes some of the layers are missing. So we might not have the layers with the aedosaurs. Okay, fine.
Hey, Maya.
Wait, is Maya back?
Maya's back.
Maya's back!
Hello.
Hi, Maya! So yeah, this ordering is always consistent, even though sometimes certain layers are missing. And that means that you can establish a relative dating sequence. So now we find a skeleton of, say, like a mosasaur, and we notice that it's in layers that already have the index fossil for, say, the Cretaceous period, which would say these ammonites, right? Well, I don't think it was a Dapper Dino fart. I guess, was there a fart sound? I think it was.
I heard typing.
Maybe it was my leather chair. I'm trying to make my leather chair make a fart sound, but it's not working.
It could be my chair, too.
Oh, yeah. That could be that. But anyway.
My chair's farting.
So now we have this relative dating that you can use based on these index fossils. And if you find a fossil in the same layer as known index fossils, you can say, well, that's where its relative age is. And then later, people came along and were able to radiometrically date them and give them actual objectively defined ages that came with numbers attached. That's how this works. And at no point is that circular. It's true that if you don't know how it works and you have it described to you in a single sentence, it will sound circular, but it actually isn't. And that is the most educational that I'm probably going to get in this entire video.
Interesting.
It's one of the dumbest things. I can't imagine anybody being that dumb, but they are.
No,
And
no,
they
they're
cut
not.
down a tree to print that stuff on perfectly good paper. Where's Al Gore when you need him? It's all based on circular. By the way, they figured out why Al Gore always has that stupid look on his face. He's stupid. That's why. But no.
Wait, isn't J.E. O'Rourke? No, never mind. I'm an idiot.
CIA figured it out. It's all based on circular reasoning. We talk about a lot of that in video number 4. We got to take a break here, but kids, you're going to be taught that each of these layers is a different age. The whole geologic is a joke.
So you didn't see it, and I saw it before this. But before this, he mentioned that he had his entire library of books on some table in the back of the room, or not library of books, but library of videos, for $50. You can get 18 hours of Kent.
So you're just borrowing it, right? Because you can always send it back and get all your money back?
It's true, that's what he says.
Isn't that his policy?
Yes, it is. And I feel like you would have to pay me $50 an hour to watch 18 hours in a row of Kent Hovind.
Yes.
No, because you're watching him now for free on YouTube.
It's not quite for free, though, because this is the kind of thing that my patrons pay for.
Right, but before you had patrons, you were doing it.
It was all an evil capitalist plot to get patrons.
Well, it was a chance that you took, and it proved to be successful.
Which means, by the way,
we're
patrons...
watching it now, and I'm not getting paid for it.
Oh, that's true. Hey, go sign up for Chesh's Patreon. Go do it.
Thanks.
And also mine.
It's taking you guys so long.
Yeah. Why aren't you all patrons of both me and Chesh? I start at $1.
Go get my band's music, too. It's free, though, so I'm not going to make any money from that.
Yeah, but link to it.
Just get it anyway.
Link to it, man. Put it in the chat.
Okay.
I'll put it right down there. Am I pointing in the right direction? I can barely tell.
Here's the problem, though, is the one song is out. The next 4, they're not out yet, but tomorrow they will be, but not until, like, nighttime.
Well, that's okay. All right. Some Kent.
It doesn't happen. Moving water will form multiple layers at the same time. So you could get a fossil at the top that is actually older than a fossil.
All right, I actually like this picture because if you notice, every single layer has a color grade, right?
Right.
It goes from like a nice like warm color to a blue color in sort of a fade, which kind of represents the graded bedding that you would actually get in this kind of deposition, which you don't see in the geological column, Kent. Ugh. Your stupid Microsoft Paint graphic is more accurate than you are.
But he's got that finger up.
Well, you know, that's what
did
tells
not
you.
have sexual relations with that woman.
I mean,
that's that finger.
Yeah.
Word.
The bottom. Because of the horizontal movement of water, called hydrologic sorting. So they're going to tell you that each of these layers is a different
I love
age.
Kent's
I like
poses for his
I'll say,
pictures.
guys, we have limestone.
All these little sand
scattered all
thingy
throughout your
touching a
geologic
wall.
column. Limestone, 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 limestone. Could you ask me a question? How do you tell the difference between 100 million?
Okay, I just want to point out, you notice how he has shale a few times? Shale formation requires fine-grained sediment deposited slowly over a long period of time because otherwise you wouldn't get that fine-grained sediment. So his own picture, if you know anything about geology, will disprove his whole point. You can't get shale, then sandstone, then limestone, then shale, then on and on. The only thing in this entire picture which actually corresponds to his flood model is the one layer of conglomerate. The entire rest of this picture disproves the idea that all these layers were laid down in a single global flood. But hey, I'm just a guy who knows the first thing about geology.
Limestone and 600 million
have to do some research.
Limestone.
Yeah,
I mean, what is the difference?
I don't know about that. I'd have to do some
We
research.
tell the different fossils by the different fossils they contain. If you find a trilobite, it'll say, boys and girls, trilobites are good index fossils.
Yep.
If a trilobite is found in a rock layer, the rock layer probably formed 500 to 600 million years ago. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Here's a fossil of a shoe print where the guy stepped on and squished a tree.
Wait, why is that a shoe print?
Oh,
Did
no.
you just hear? He said it is.
Is everything vaguely shoe-shaped a shoe print? What evidence is there that this is a shoe print?
Kent said it. What more evidence do you need?
Yeah, come on.
This is like some Carl Ball level bullshit.
I don't know.
Shouldn't that say Nike on there somewhere?
I don't know how Logic. I don't know how Logic did this.
Oh, he didn't.
I don't know.
Yeah, how Logic did it for years.
I don't know how he did this for such a long period of time. Like, I feel like every time, like, you would have, okay, let's say you were to go through Kent's 18 hours. All right, we've only been at this for 2 hours. Let's say you were going to go through one video, and let's say one of his videos is 2 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours you have to watch Kent Hovind and mark down every time he made a claim, and then have to go and double check his claim. The actual.
There's a reason why Logic is a better man than any of us.
My God, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Even Jesus can't save you from this. By the way, I noticed you have a very Halloween-y theme for your nail polish. You should show that off. Very nice. I feel spooked.
Spoop. Very spoopy.
Yes. Oh, wrong button. There we go.
Now, question.
So there's a thing that may or may not be a shoe, but probably isn't.
If they lived 600 million years ago.
Also, is that a trilobite? I don't see a trilobite there. I see a nodule.
Aliens visited the planet 600 million years ago.
It's a helix fossil. Praise be to the helix god.
And they stepped on a trilobite.
Okay, right there, I can kind of see a trilobite. Like I can sort of see like a glabella there, and like you can see the sort of thorax. So In this
don't buy
picture, it's sort of trilobite-y.
Do you think that's a trilobite?
I do, actually. I think that's probably a trilobite.
Okay. I'm no expert. Doesn't look like one to me, but I don't know enough about
No
fossils.
offense intended, but I feel like I know a little bit more about trilobite anatomy than you do, Bent.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't
Right.
know any better, but
Yeah.
like that does not look like one to me.
It looks like a trilobite to me. It looks like the anterior, like half or so of a trilobite, unless it's a particularly benthic species, in which case it might actually be like the anterior 2/3 or so, with the bigidium just being tucked under the
I don't think it looks
glabellum.
enough like a kabutops.
Yes, that reminds me. There should be some like trilobite themed stuff on my merch store. Type
Where's the
trilobite in the
Helix
chat
fossil?
if you want trilobite themed merch.
Quick, tell everybody how to spell trilobite.
I mean, it's
Dinosaur.
TRILOBITE. Trilobite.
Trilobite.
Well, you can't argue with logic like
69.
that. And aliens will do it every time. Another guy said,
Now
maybe
those
there was
are
a large
trilobites.
trilobite shaped like a shoe. There are some big trilobites, but I don't buy this shaped like a shoe business. Okay. The trilobite had the most complicated eyeball ever. No animal has ever had an eyeball as complicated as the trilobite. And this is supposed
Do
to
we
be
know
the
that? How do we know that?
So the trilobite eyes are interesting. They're made out of, the lenses are made out of, I think it's like calcium carbonate or something. I'm not positive. You should not take my word for this. But they're made out of a particular crystal that, I mean, other animals don't use for their eye lenses, and they were very compact compound eyes. But I'm not sure that makes them more complicated than like a fly's eye or anything. Like, I don't even know, how do you measure
Or a cuttlefish.
Yeah, well, no,
Cuttlefish have crazy eyes.
yeah, how do you measure complicatedness of eyes? I don't know. Trilobites had really cool eyes, but I don't know if that makes them the most complicated eyes in the history of ever. Like,
Well, Stephen Jay Gould knows.
well, Stephen Jay Gould. Okay, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how you measure that.
animal to ever evolve, the trilobite. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, see,
What do you mean,
there.
Kent? You haven't seen it? You've never... You don't know.
Were you there?
Yeah, you weren't there. But, I mean, look, this is a fossilized trilobite eye, and it's like, okay, it's cool, but is that really way more complicated than, like, say, a wasp's eye or a fly's eye? I don't know why it would be. It's a compound eye. Yeah, it looks like a fly's eye, like Bob Knob says. It's made out of different chemistry as far as the lenses go, but, like, why is this special? I don't know.
Nobody knows.
All directions at the same time. How does their brain sort out all that information coming in?
Oh my god.
When they tell you trilobites are index fossils, they are simply lying to you. There could be some still alive.
Okay.
All right.
He just showed giant isopods, which are crustaceans. Okay,
I'm convinced that Kent was just actually watching Pokemon. Because there's that one episode when Charmeleon evolves into Charizard where they find the Aerodactyl still alive and there's a bunch of Kabuto just scurrying around. He was just watching a Pokemon episode.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? So, Kent showed trilobites. Trilobites are chelicerates, which is... Arthropoda is divided into two major groups. Chelicerates and mandibulates. Mandibulates include things like myriapods, like centipedes and millipedes, and insects and crustaceans and things like that. Chelicerata includes things like scorpions and sea spiders and horseshoe crabs. Well, there's some debate as to whether or not trilobites count as chelicerates or not. But even if they don't, they're a sister group to modern chelicerata. But the things that he just showed were giant benthic isopods, which are a kind of crustacean, which is a mandibulate. In fact, isopods are the things that people call pill bugs or roly-polies that you find in like rotting logs or under rocks. These just happen to be giant ones that live at the bottom of the ocean. And he's about to say that they are modern living trilobites, but they're freaking not.
We've talked about this in the past.
Yes, you and I have.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did it on air, but I believe you.
No. It wasn't on air. Yeah.
And it really pisses me off because the only way you can make this claim, the only way, is if you just ignore everything about arthropod anatomy and you just go
don't
with
know
like,
the difference. He's an expert, but he doesn't know the difference because he's
But that's
not
the thing.
really an
If
expert.
you're going to present yourself as an expert and you don't know the very basics about arthropod anatomy, why are you doing this? Obviously to fool people, to lie to people.
I mean, he's got a huge ego. Like,
that's true.
And Dunning-Kruger is like strong with him, so.
And yeah, Bob Knob says Kent ignores all science. Don't know why you're surprised.
Yeah.
It's not so much that I'm surprised as it is that this really pisses me off.
Disappointed!
Yeah. I now feel like we should have a Pokemon stream about fossil type Pokemon.
Hell yeah.
But that's not today.
Of trilobites still living today.
What are you even
not millions of years ago. This, they say, the graptolite is a fossil that's 410 million years old.
Ooh.
But they recently found them still alive.
Oh?
Well,
hey, you want to know why he doesn't talk about alligators or sharks? Because they're less impressive sounding.
410 million year old rock.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is like, okay, nothing about evolution says that certain lines have to go extinct.
Or that they have to change either.
Right. And the fact is that even all of these, so-called living fossils, they're not identical to their ancient ancestors. They're similar. They're more similar than most forms are. But like, relatively low amounts of change don't mean no change.
They could be found in any rock layer. They'll tell you the coelacanth, the fish with the little lobes, arms on it, that's proof for evolution, boys and girls.
All right, I want to point out, as far as I know, coelacanths are not actually index fossils for any period. I think he's just lying, but...
I think he's moved on. I don't think he's saying that part anymore. I think he's moved on to the next part.
Well, it says lobe-fin fish are an index fossil for a 325 to 410 million year old rock, ? But the thing is, they're not, because lobe-fin fish have existed from that period on until now. So he would have to be way more specific about lobe-fin fish. Like, maybe a certain genus is. I don't actually know. But it can't just be Sarcopterygian, which is what a lobe-fin fish is. Because you know what? You know what's a Sarcopterygian? Look at who I'm pointing at. I'm a Sarcopterygian. You know who else is? Both of you.
What are you talking about? You're a goblin.
Goblins are Sarcopterygians.
I don't know.
We have look at the hands. Look at all the mammal features. Like I got ears and like heterodont teeth and all this stuff. These are all Sarcopterygian things. So I'm a lobe-fin fish, and so are both of you. And even when I'm a dinosaur, I'm still a lobed-fin fish, and so are you.
Okay.
The coelacanth has little arms. Well, they're still alive in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, evolution doesn't say they shouldn't be.
How could you find a fossil and say it's 325 million years old? They're still catching up. This one lady wrote a book about it, A Fish Caught in Time. She said, yes, boys and girls, there she is right there. This is our own great uncle. 40 million times removed.
That one random guy laughing in the audience.
You're going to be told dinosaurs are from 70 million.
All right, I like this. We are all Sarcopterygians T-shirt. Yes. Yes.
Do
that.
it. Make it.
Okay, I can't write it down right now, but one of you two write it down and send it to me in like a Facebook chat.
Got it.
I like that shirt idea. We are all Sarcopterygians.
What do I have to do to get put in Facebook jail?
Basically be super critical of far left politicians in the United States or Canada.
Oh, alright.
That'll do it. Because if you're super critical of far right politicians, they don't care, which I'm okay with. They shouldn't care, but they also shouldn't care if you're super critical of far left politicians. But it seems
either
to be the way
it's all okay or none of it's okay.
Yeah, well, good luck getting the Zuck to agree with you on that one.
10-year-old rock. They find dinosaur bones with blood still in the blood vessels.
No, they don't. Okay.
I mean, is he talking about birds or?
Okay, so Mary Schweitzer.
He doesn't know the difference.
Well, are you guys familiar with Mary Schweitzer? She was actually on.
Yes.
I think it was a Non Sequitur show, right?
Don't know if she came on Non-Sec. I know she talked to Apologia.
She talked to Apologia, but she was either on the Non-Sec or she was on like the Steve McRae channel or the GDC.
Yeah.
So she's the one about whom all these ridiculous claims that creationists make are based. And the thing is, she doesn't say that she found blood vessels or blood cells. She says she found fossils that were morphologically consistent with red blood cells. That's not the same thing as finding blood in ancient dinosaur bones. It just isn't the same thing. That's saying, I found things that look like blood cells. But even if she did, that's the same as saying, oh, I found things that look like dinosaur bones. Well, you know what? They look like dinosaur bones because they used to be dinosaur bones, but they aren't anymore because permineralized dinosaur fossils aren't bone. They're rock. They're rock casts of what used to be bones. I might not make it.
Bone. Paleontologists discovered dinosaurs with soft tissue in them.
Kind of.
That's another whole story. So the find could force scientists to reconsider how fossils are formed.
No, it forced them to re-examine certain aspects of the chemistry of permineralization as it relates to soft tissue.
Whoa, stop. Think about it. They find soft tissue inside a dinosaur bone. So now they're going to examine how fossils form. They are missing the whole train. Maybe they should discover and start talking about when.
So, as someone who looks in microscopes for a living at human tissue, I'm seeing things in some of these slides. I don't know what power it is or whatever, but I'm seeing some things that look like fungal elements. Just saying.
Like D? Does D look like a fungal element?
Well, E does for sure. But again, is that like 4 inches or is that like a few millimeters? I don't know what power that's being zoomed in. And the previous one with the blood, the first thing I thought of when I saw that is, that looks like fungus to me.
Well, that was actually one of the things that was brought up in some of the initial criticism to Mary Schweitzer's work, was that some of it looked like contamination. And some of it may well have been.
So it really, the size of it really matters to know for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But if that's on a microscope slide and it looks like that, I mean, that's Aspergillus. The other one's Blastomyces. And I can't really comment on the other images. I don't know. But I've also seen soft tissue under a microscope, and it doesn't look at all like any of this.
Well, you think Kent knows that?
Of course not.
I want to know how many times in his life has Kent looked into a microscope, because I'm guessing I could count it on one hand.
I could count it on 0 hands.
Well, that might be true.
that
He's probably looked at
will
a microscope.
never cross their mind.
Doesn't
once or
matter.
twice.
They will never think about that. I predict no one will publish a paper in any major science journal questioning when they formed. Their geologic column is sacred.
People question when fossils formed all the time. Various formations have the exact date of their formation changed all the time as new evidence becomes available. Just look.
Does he know that, like, when somebody publishes a paper, people publish criticisms of that paper, usually questioning that paper? So anytime anything comes out about a fossil or some kind of discovery, it's literally the thing he's talking about happens?
I know! And that's the thing. People question these things all the time. Like, fossil beds change accepted dating based on new evidence. It's a thing that happens. But no one ever comes to the conclusion that they all happened less than 6,000 years ago, because that would violate essentially all of known physics.
Get me out. Get me
Well,
out.
I mean, we've been
Get me
doing this
out.
for 2.5 hours. We could call it.
Oh my god.
I can keep going.
You want to keep going, Chesh?
I hate you.
Aww. Love you, Chesh.
It must never be questioned. And they haven't so far. It's been 20 years now. They haven't questioned.
I love this. Human hands found in Cretaceous rock. How do you know those are human hands?
Somebody actually just buried a hand in some rocks.
I mean, I see, like, I can't even tell if that's a manus or a pez. What
Somebody
is
just
that?
buried a hand in some rocks.
I mean, yeah, basically. And the other thing is, how do you know those are Cretaceous? It's your citation is creationevidence.org. I'm sorry, but I'm a little skeptical of that.
Here's a question: if using the dating methods that we're using to date certain rocks and structures to the Cretaceous period isn't valid, how did he date something to the Cretaceous period?
Why is he assuming this is Cretaceous? I mean, I'm assuming that what he's saying is like
Cretaceous is in quotes too, so.
Well, okay. So I guess what he's saying is this is found in rocks that mainstream science or evolutionary science would say is Cretaceous. But he doesn't think it is. It's like, oh, it was all formed in the flood that obviously didn't happen. But like, what is the provenance of this? What citation do you have? And I'm pretty sure creationevidence.org is the website for the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas, run by Carl Baugh. Who, by the way...
creationevidence.org.
Wait, hold on. Before you check, I'm betting 1 Molson that this is the website run by Carl Baugh.
Museum of Texas, located in Glen Rose, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, see dinosaur fossils, Noah's Ark, the creation model, and evidence, blah, 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 blah.
Do a search for Carl Baugh.
Carl Baugh, yep, there he is.
Oh, yes! Someone owes me a Molson. Yeah. So here's the thing about Carl Baugh. Carl Baugh has sort of a phobia to having any of his specimens tested in any way at all. He just hides them away in his museum and just makes claims about them. So I don't believe this is Cretaceous. You know why? Because Carl Baugh never makes any of his samples available.
And we don't know how he's measuring when they're from, because apparently the ways we do it currently are not valid.
Yeah, it's... Carl Baugh... And here's another thing about Carl Baugh. Ever heard him talk?
No.
Carl Baugh
Maybe.
is the best evidence for alien life existing on Earth imaginable, because he has yet to figure out how humans communicate. Yeah.
Alien.
Look
Nice.
for my video, Answers to Word Salad, because it's actually a response to a Carl Baugh video, and he is incomprehensible in parts of it.
Nice.
Like, he's not just dumb. Like, Kent, you can tell what he's trying to say. Like, his words make sense as sentences. Carl Baugh, not so much. I call Carl Bott the human who would fail the Turing test. Like if you put if you put Carl Bott on one side of a chat room and an AI chatbot on the other side, and you were asked, hey, one of these is human, which one is it? I think most people would pick the chatbot. I'm not actually kidding there. It's funny, but it's not something I don't legitimately... but it's not
a joke.
Right, exactly.
The geologic column. So kids, you're going to be told these layers are different ages. They are lying to you. Those layers are not different ages. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting these layers. Let me ask you a question. How long does it...
Okay, I want to point out, before we started this stream, I was on the phone with my best friend. And we were talking about this particular claim. And I pointed out to my best friend that this claim has not been a reasonable thing since like the 1860s. Because these, quote, polystrate fossils were explained that far back. Kent has to go back to the 19th century to get this particular claim.
That's older than most of his references.
It's all, I mean, the only one here that is not older than is me. And that's only because I'm a dinosaur from the Jurassic period.
The dead tree stand up around here in Washington before it falls down? Million years? All over the world, petrified trees are found in the standing position.
Wait, that last one he showed before this, I don't think that was a tree. I think that was this thing called a shadow. Which, I know, the shadows are reliable creationist bafflers. But...
Well, now, hold on a minute.
How do we know that's a fossil? Oh, that's probably a fossil.
Go to Yellowstone. There are hundreds of petrified, thousands of them, standing up, petrified, running through multiple layers of rock strata. They're going to tell you that these rock layers are different ages. I'm sorry, I was born at night.
Okay, so here's a little bit more actual education, right? Most of these, quote, polystrate trees are actually lycopods, which are more closely related to club moss than any other living thing. Sorry. So, these things reached hundreds of meters tall over the course of their few century or so lifespan, during which they lived in swampy environments which were prone to flooding. The thing is, geology doesn't say that every layer has the same amount of time. A flood can come in and create a couple feet of layer of rock over the course of just a few years. So these polystrate trees were living in flooding environments. And the thing is, there are areas where you can see one of these polystrate trees being cut off at a certain layer. And even the layers below it show soil horizons, something Kent doesn't even think exists, but that totally does. Which means that there was enough time for soil to establish itself. And you can see roots coming down from other plants in the fossil record at these soil horizons. Which means that there was at least a few years available. Which means it couldn't have been a single 1-year flood. Because how do you get new plants to establish roots when they're being buried in the course of a year by a worldwide flood? It doesn't make sense.
That is one angry goblin I'm seeing.
Goblins are the best. Goblins are second only to dinosaurs.
Goblins are great for anger.
Yes, because we're small and angry. We got this Napoleon syndrome, right, Chad?
Small, angry, screeing sounds. Scree!
We'll have to work on getting some of those sounds in there.
We'll have to talk about more about that tomorrow.
Yes. Which, by the way, if you're just joining us now, there's going to be a stream on the Great Debate Community channel about Dungeons & Dragons. It's called Goblin, so there's a little bit of a hint as to what it's about. Check it out. It'll be at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 3 p.m. Cheshire Time, because Canada is weird.
No, 2 p.m. my time. EST. I'm in EST right now.
No, but the clocks aren't changing tomorrow.
Right.
It'll be 3 p.m. your time.
Oh. I don't know.
Oh, well, okay. Check
I'll
this.
I'll show up at some point.
I'm gonna be left to stream on the channel with no partner. It's gonna be terrible.
But it wasn't last night.
Hey, that means any decisions I make when you're not here, you're stuck with them. So you better hope you show up.
It's true, yeah.
Okay, you're not going to fool me with that one. Those layers are Alabama. There's a coal mine where they find all kinds of petrified trees standing up, running through the coal seams.
Yeah, the coal seams from the Carboniferous, when the lycopods were the main constituent of forests and swamps. You know why they call it the Carboniferous, Kent? Because it laid down a bunch of frickin' carbon, like coal.
No, you're not going to fool him with that one.
Yeah, that's totally just a coincidence. Oh, I hate when he refutes himself in his own statement, and he doesn't even frickin' notice. I'm trying really hard not to make this an R-rated stream, but it's so hard.
A friend of mine works there. He said, oh yeah, we got 2 coal seams, the Blue Creek and the Mary Lee coal seams. He said, we'll find petrified trees coming through each of them, and the trees overlap each other. Look at sample H and sample A.
Yeah, you know what he doesn't show you?
Is he talking to random people again and not professionals? Is that who he's talking about?
Yes.
And is this a story of some people that he talked to again, that so we automatically don't believe him?
Yes, but even if
Got it.
everything he's saying is completely 100% true, you know what's interesting? Look at that over there with, you see the thing labeled H?
Yep.
You notice how it stops before the root layers for G and D and C and B and A?
What?
Yeah, and then you see how F and E have root layers that would be even higher?
What?
Yeah, that means these lycopods started to grow at successive periods, which means it couldn't have all happened in a year-long flood, because how do you get trees to grow underwater in a flood?
What? I just like to pretend that he spoke with someone named Mary Lee and someone else named Blue Creek. Those are the names of the people. Blue Creek.
But seriously, your own slides disprove your point, Kent.
I don't know how Bent can handle this.
Oh, yeah, seriously,
Bent has nerves of steel.
How are you
know,
doing
and
this?
This vodka isn't even vodka, it's water.
I know.
I'm not even drunk, I'm sober.
How? What is your
Magic.
secret? Okay.
I cheat.
That's fair.
I cheat. Just cheat.
I'm out of my second drink, and like I don't want to get super drunk, but like I feel like if I don't even know what's gonna happen.
I feel like what we should do is we should call it here, because we're almost at, where are we? We're almost at 3
hours.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 3-hour mark. Whoa. So I vote we'll stop this one for now, and we'll come back for another.
Yeah, we can come back for another one. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this one. I might actually just save the rest of this for an actual scripted video. That's a possibility.
Oh, there you go.
Good idea.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, we're probably going to call this at this point. Yeah, 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
All right, so tomorrow, also, any mods, put the link in the chat if you can for the Great Debate Community live stream for tomorrow. 11 p.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time if you're in the United States, or 3 p.m. Pacific or Eastern time if you're in Canada.
I'm gonna trust you and change the thing on my
Chesh,
clock.
don't trust me. Go to the actual page on the GDC and check what time it says it's gonna start.
No, I'm trusting you.
No, don't.
I set an alarm. I set an alarm for 2:30.
Set an alarm for 1:30.
Now if I'm not there, it's your fault.
Well, here's the other thing. If I'm not there, then I'm going to make all sorts of horrible decisions that you're not going to like.
Well, that's fine. It's still going to be your fault.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for showing up. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun and a lot of anger at the same time. Yeah, but so stay tuned for that. That's going to be on the GDC webpage. That's
Yeah, we're
one
gonna
of
be live tomorrow.
Yeah.
On the GDC. Bent has his band stuff that he linked. Go check that out. There's gonna be more songs coming out. You said tonight.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
New moon rising, so we're waiting for the new moon, which is at like 8:40 p.m. local time. I think that's how it works. I don't know. So it's all
what is
free.
astronomy?
Download it, share it, do whatever you want with it. We're not charging any money. So.
And by the way,
Yeah.
Bent is the one who does the music for both my channel and the Seabad Show. So if you're not subscribed to the Seabad Show, go subscribe there.
Go subscribe there. Go check that out because there is a new video coming out next week.
Yeah, Thursday.
Soon. Next Thursday, and it's going to be Manos Hands of Fate, and it was actually a lot of fun.
It was. And our next one after that is going to be Godzilla Raids again.
Whoop.
Yep.
More Godzilla.
Yep, more Godzilla. So,
And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again, and I'm the Dapper Dinosaur, and I'm going to stop this stream after I play the intro.
So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to research on this.